Good morning. Today is Wednesday, October 7th, and this is the time and place for the regularly scheduled Gaming Control Board meeting for the month of October. Madam Secretary, has our agenda been posted in accordance with the open meeting law?
Yes, it has.
And today on our agenda, we will be covering non-restricted, restricted, and casino player dispute appeals. Madam Secretary, let's please proceed with public comments.
This item is placed on the agenda to give the public an opportunity to comment on gaming related matters. At this time, we have not received any written public comments.
Okay, that will close our public comment section. Madam Secretary, the next item on our agenda is the approval of the prior month's disposition and meeting minutes.
Pursuant to NRS 241.035, this item is the consideration of the approval of the Nevada Gaming Control Board disposition for September 2020 and the meeting minutes from the workshop held on September 22nd.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. And each of us has had an opportunity to review the disposition and meeting minutes for both the September meeting and the workshop on the 22nd. Would either of my colleagues care to make a motion?
Yes, I move for approval of the disposition of the prior month, as well as for the workshop minutes for the month of September 2020, as read into the record by Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Member Johnson.
Member Katsouras?
Aye.
Member Johnson?
Aye.
Chairwoman Morgan?
Aye. And Madam Secretary, that brings us to our first non-restricted item and our non-restricted agenda items. Please read in non-restricted item number 1.
Non-restricted number 1 are the applications of Mohegan Tribal Gaming Authority doing business as Mohegan Gaming and Entertainment for registration as a publicly traded corporation and for a finding of suitability as sole member of MGNV Holding LLC. Is also the applications of MGNV Holding LLC for registration as an intermediary company, licensure as sole member of MGNV LLC, and MGNV LLC doing business as Mohegan Sun Casino Las Vegas for a restricted gaming license, licensure to operate a gaming salon, and as a manufacturer and distributor. You also have the applications of Ralph James Gesner Jr., Mario Christian Contumericos, Mark Raymond Rosa, Sarah Elizabeth Harris, Thane Douglas Hutchins Jr., Joseph Michael Soper, Kathleen Mary Regan Pine, John Jerry Harris, Patricia Ann LaPierre, William Quigden Jr., and Joseph John Hessen for findings of suitability and or licensure as officers, directors, controlling persons, managers, or key employees as noted on the agenda. Lastly, you have the request to withdraw the applications of Mohegan Gaming Advisors LLC, Ralph Gesner Jr., Mario Contumericos, Michael Sieberling, Drew Kelly, Christian Block II, and Mark Brown as noted on the agenda.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Welcome. And I know there's a lot of applicants and individuals here today to discuss this application for Mohegan. Welcome, and please state your name for the record. I don't know if I should kick it off to you, Mr. Rubenstein.
Yes, please. Good morning, Chairwoman Morgan, Member Johnson, Member Katsouras, and Madam Secretary. My name is Mark Rubenstein with the law firm of Reed, Rubenstein, and Bogatz. I am very proud to be here today to introduce this historic item, as it is the penultimate step to obtaining the gaming license that will allow, for the first time in history, a Native American commercial enterprise to operate a casino within the Las Vegas Strip corridor. Here in our offices in Las Vegas, I have with me former Gaming Commissioner Radha Chandaraj from our law firm, and Joe Hassan, whom I believe most of you know from prior appearances and who will be serving as the general manager of the Mohegan Sun Casino Las Vegas. In addition, there are a number of applicants and others joining by video link in and around the Mohegan Sun Resort in Connecticut. If it suits the chair, we have an affirmative presentation we would like to make, which will begin with introducing the applicants and others on the call. Then we will give you overviews of the Mohegan Tribe, the Mohegan Gaming and Entertainment Enterprise, the Mohegan Sun Casino Las Vegas, which is what these applications really are all about, and finally, the approach of the enterprise to compliance. We're happy to entertain questions along the way or after we conclude the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Rubenstein. Let's go ahead and proceed with your affirmative presentation and the outline that you provided.
Great, thank you. In a moment, I will turn the Master of Ceremonies duties over to Mark Camella, the Chief Compliance Officer of Mohegan Gaming and Entertainment, or MGE. You'll hear MGE a lot. That's the parent company. Mark will introduce you to all of the applicants and others who are with him in Connecticut. But before I do, I'd like to talk briefly about the efforts that got us here today, a mere 10 months after these applications were filed and processed by Applicant Services. Investigations of the various applicants before you began in earnest in mid-December 2019. And of course, the investigations were in full swing at the time the COVID-19 pandemic hit this country. I'd be remiss if I did not recognize the tremendous efforts undertaken by both the board's investigative teams and by the legal and compliance arm of the Mohegan Gaming and Entertainment Organization. We intend to recognize the members of your investigative team by name at the conclusion of our presentation, but before we go further and I turn the microphone over, I believe it's important to recognize the legal and compliance team from MGE, who took primary responsibility for seeing to it that all the investigators' requests were timely and completely answered, and who really drove us to be here today, which was our target before the pandemic hit. I'd like to do that because none of these individuals are before you for licensing today. While MGE boasts a number of talented executives, some of whom you will hear from today, it should be very comforting to this board to know that the legal and compliance functions are in the hands of experienced leaders who develop much of their expertise working for companies based in Nevada. Beginning with Tom Smock. Tom is Senior Vice President and Chief Legal Officer of Mohegan Gaming and Entertainment. Prior to joining MGE to lead their legal and compliance functions, Tom had more than 20 years of experience as an executive and in-house counsel at various casino gaming companies, including general counsel at Aristocrat Technologies and special counsel of gaming operations at Penn National Gaming, with significant experience in Macau, China, and South America. Before those two stops, Tom served as Senior Vice President and General Counsel and Compliance Chair for all of the Las Vegas Sands Asian-based companies, where he was instrumental in the development and opening of the region's first foreign-owned casino, Sands Macau, and also supported the development of the Venetian Macau and the now internationally famous Macau, or Cotai Strip. Next is Mark Camella, who you'll hear from right after me. Mark reports directly to Tom and serves as MGE's Vice President and Chief Compliance Officer. Mark provides senior level leadership in developing, implementing, and maintaining the company's comprehensive compliance program. Mark has an extensive background in developing and implementing compliance programs, which is rooted in his operational and strategic experience within the gaming industry. He previously served as Vice President of Regulatory Compliance for Bally Technologies, where he was responsible for compliance with gaming laws applicable to business operations of that company in more than 300 jurisdictions worldwide. And finally, Tracy Wilson is Senior Corporate Compliance Manager for MGE. Tracy's been with the company in one capacity or another for the greater part of the last 24 years, since the Mohegan Sun opened in 1996. She has held her position in corporate compliance since 2016 and has served as an invaluable resource for all involved in these investigations, making sure everything was properly organized and got done completely, thoroughly, and on time. With those introductions complete, I'd like to now turn the presentation over to Mark Camella, who will complete the introductions of all the other individuals participating as applicants or on behalf of the applicants today. Thank you. Mark? Mark needs to unmute his microphone.
Hello, I think the gentleman, Mark, if you're speaking, we can't hear you. If you could unmute,
You need
please.
to unmute your microphone, or someone needs to do it. There you go. You're good.
I'll start again. Good morning, Chairman Morgan, Member Johnson, Member Katsaris, and Madam Secretary. My name is Mark Camella, and Vice President and Chief Compliance Officer with Mohegan Gaming and Entertainment. It is a pleasure to be here today. On behalf of the Mohegan Tribe, Mohegan Gaming and Entertainment, and myself, we are looking forward for the opportunity to come to Vegas. I would like to introduce our applicants. Following the introductions, Chairman Gessner will provide an overview of the Mohegan Tribe, Mario Contamarcos an overview of Mohegan Gaming and Entertainment, Joe Hassan an overview of Mohegan Sun Casino Las Vegas, and I will conclude with an overview of compliance. I would like to start by introducing the members of our management board. Here today is James Gessner, Chairman, Sarah Harris, Vice Chairwoman, Kathy Reagan Pine, Recording Secretary, Pat LaPierre, Corresponding Secretary, Thane Hutchins, Treasurer, John Harris, Counselor, Joseph Soper, Counselor, Bill Quidgen, Counselor, and Ken Davidson, Counselor, our newest member to the board, whose background investigation is in process. With MGE, we have Mario Contamorcas, our CEO. We have Raymond Pinault, our recently promoted into the position of COO. His application as well is in process as we speak. And we have Mark Rosa, the Chief Information Officer, and Joseph Hassan, General Manager of Mohegan Sun Casino, Las Vegas. I would now like to turn it over to Chairman Gessner.
Good morning, Madam Chairwoman Morgan, members of the board, Madam Secretary. I am James Gessner, Chairman of the Board for Mohegan Gaming and Entertainment. It's a pleasure to be here with you today, not just as the chairman of our company, but on behalf of the Mohegan people, as I am also the chief elected officer of our nation. Similar to that of many native tribes, the story of the Mohegan Nation is one of survival, of strength, of perseverance. We have called the shores and hillsides of Connecticut our home for over 400 years. Our reservation is home to our tribal community and government center, our Fort Hill elderly housing complex, as well as our flagship property, Mohegan Sun. Traditions that began hundreds of years ago are still practiced today on the very land our ancestors founded. The principles and philosophies from our ancestors who endured some of the most trying times in our nation's history are instilled in each of our 2,300 Mohegan citizens. As it says in our tribal vision statement, we survive as a nation guided by the wisdom of our past. We are guided by 13 generations past and responsible for 13 generations to come. The determination and resilience passed down from generation to generation have shaped who we are as a people and how we conduct business. It has led us not just to survive, but thrive as a tribal nation. This allowed us to break barriers that no other tribe has done, including being the first Native American tribe to operate in Atlantic City before expanding internationally into South Korea and Canada. We are once again breaking barriers as we will be the first Native American tribe to operate on the Las Vegas Strip Resort Corridor, pending regulatory approval. By pioneering this new pathway in the most well-known gaming market in the world, MGE is extending our growing reach into yet another legendary global entertainment capital while continuing the Mohegan tribe tradition of blazing new trails for others to follow. We could not be more thrilled or honored to be able to expand into this market and call Nevada a home away from home. At the core of the Mohegan Nation, we are founded by the Mohegan Way in the spirit of Aquay, which translates into welcome, which is founded on the principles of welcoming, cooperation, mutual respect, and building relationships. These principles have guided and allowed our tribe to prosper in every community in which we operate, not just because they are words we say or have written in employee documents, but because they are the foundation of our belief system and are critical in how we operate our businesses. Every team member of MGE, from the top down to our frontline employees, must practice and embody these philosophies, as it is ingrained in who we are as a team and a business. We believe it is a big reason for the company's success. In closing, the management board recognizes that a strong culture of compliance starts with a tone from the top message. It sets the guiding values and ethical climate, something that is important to who we are as a people and practices on all levels across the company. I want to thank you, and I will now turn the presentation over to Mario, our CEO.
Thank you, Chairman Gessner. Good morning, Chairwoman Morgan, Member Johnson, Member Katsaros, and Madam Secretary. My name is Mario Contamercos, the President and CEO of Mohegan Gaming and Entertainment, the gaming instrumentality of the Mohegan Tribe. As the other speakers have done, please allow me to express my gratitude for your time and interest in holding this hearing for our gaming licensing application for the state of Nevada. This is a moment of great pride for me and for this entire organization. And we look forward to the day when we can smile and shake hands with each of you face to face in the future. As our chairman well described, in recent years, we have experienced notable growth as a successful international, commercial, integrated entertainment resort operator, and yet we owe virtually all of that success to the timeless value system of the Mohegan tribe, the spirit of Aquay, which is not only a tradition that travels well back over 400 years, but is what we are religiously and faithfully guided by today and in the future. Next slide. Oh, current slide, excuse me. Back, one slide, please. Thank you. As mentioned, we are arguably the most transparent, commercial, and innovative Native American-owned gaming organization in this country. This tribe has never been shy about exploring new markets or new opportunities in pursuit of our ultimate goal, which is to secure the long-term sustainability of the Mohegan tribe, as well as that of the communities in which we operate. On this slide, you can see that penchant for exploration and the spirit of partnership, which chronicles our remarkable history as a company over the last 25 plus years. Moving from left to right on this slide, as you can see, we were the first Native American tribe to access institutional funding on Wall Street in 1994. We were the first to own a professional sports franchise, the WNBA Connecticut Sun. And please, do not ask me to comment on the recent semifinals match between the Sun and the Las Vegas Aces. We are still in denial. And from 2004 until today, and moving forward, you can see our innovation come through again and again, as we were the first tribe to manage another tribal casino, the Elan Casino in Washington. We were the first tribe to manage another commercial casino, resorts in Atlantic City. We were the first tribe to own a commercial gaming facility off reservation, Pocono. First tribe to partner with another tribe on a commercial gaming facility, MMCT. First tribe to enter the Asian gaming market. And there will be a race to see who will be the first tribe to open in a European gaming market. And perhaps, as we've said earlier today, the pinnacle achievement of those all, and why we are here today, the first tribe to operate on the Las Vegas Strip corridor. It's truly an incredible story, and one that we are ready to share with all of you in the state of Nevada as we move forward. Next slide, please. Our reach has expanded from the northeastern United States to the West Coast, to the South, to Canada, and to Korea, and in about 10 days from now, to Greece as well. Each of these operations rely on some kind of significant partnership and a bond of trust between us and another party in order to conduct business successfully every day. For example, in Connecticut and in Pennsylvania, we partner closely with the state in which we operate. In Washington and in Louisiana, we partnered with another Native American tribe. In Atlantic City, Korea, and Greece, we formed a JV partnership. And in Niagara Falls, where we operate 2 Niagara Falls facilities on behalf of the Ontario Lottery and Gaming Commission. I find this openness to the spirit of partnership to be unique to the gaming industry, and I believe it speaks in large measure, again, to that spirit of cooperation buried deeply within the value system of the Mohegan tribe. With that, I'd like to further illustrate the concepts that I've just shared with you by now showing you a video that does a very good job of illustrating the remarkable growth of Mohegan Gaming and Entertainment over the decades. you'll see that that video does a much better job than I can ever do at explaining the history of this, the remarkable history of this company. And without fail, every time I see that video, I get a bit choked up. And just to see and be a small part of that amazing evolution that you just saw is something that I'll always be grateful for. So as you can see on this next slide here, our portfolio today consists of a total of 9 major destination resorts, over 25 million annual visitors, over 2,000 live performances produced every year. We believe we're one of the tops in the industry in this category. You see that the hundreds and thousands, respectively, of food and beverage outlets and hotel rooms that we operate, as well as, hands down, and by far the most important asset that we have, and the core of our success, our team members, which we expect will number 22,000 by 2025. We are nothing if we are not the conscious of our employees. They are considered our family, and they are indeed the core of our success. Next slide. Okay, now I'd like to familiarize and run you through each of our other properties, or our properties one by one, if I can. Next slide, please. What can I say about Mohegan Sun? You can see many of the accolades there. Highest grossing casino in the Western Hemisphere for a decade. Voted best casino resort in the United States by USA Today for the past 3 years. Recognized by Fortune magazine as among the top 10 best workplaces for diversity. 31 accolades with 8 first place wins in this year's Casino Player magazine. Highest grossing arena in the world for its size. 7th Casino of the Year award from the Academy of Music Awards. The list goes on, and these are just the accolades from just the last year or two. In a former life, I had walked into virtually every major and minor casino destination in the United States. And I still remember the distinct awe I felt the first time I walked into Mohegan Sun. It is truly like nothing else ever constructed in our industry. And the little secret that we know is that many of the successful resorts built in many markets in the United States and around the world have based their successful designs off of several of the very successful design elements of Mohegan Sun, which were avant-garde at the time and remain timelessly appealing today. For example, the circular casino and the Casino of the Earth. The barbell overall design centered by the retail corridor and the world-famous Mohegan Sun Arena, anchored on either side by the Casino of the Earth and the Casino of the Sky. The hotel lobby that does not force you through the casino floor. The ability to use gaming loyalty points earned in the casino in the non-gaming outlets. That was an innovative item in those years. All of those were the genius of our first development team in the Mohegan Tribe. Any of the development secrets that we've learned over the years at Mohegan Sun and can be applied at the Virgin Hotel in Las Vegas will be applied. Next slide. Now onto our remaining portfolio. These are very substantial resorts on their own, most of them the biggest in their region, and yet sometimes they still fall in the shadow of Mohegan Sun, Connecticut, just based on the influence of that single property. At A has been a home run from the day it opened. And in fact, you saw a clip earlier from the day that it opened. We had an 8-mile backup on the I-5 highway. We promise we won't do the same on I-15. Perhaps the most compelling feature of this development was not the financial performance for us, but our determination to get this project open for the benefit of the Cowlitz tribe. We persevered through numerous hurdles for 14 years, from the time we signed the development agreement to the day that the casino opened. We had numerous opportunities to walk away, but we never did. We kept our word to help this tribe to self-sufficiency. At Paragon, another opportunity that we accepted to help a tribe in need of management expertise in order to stabilize its economic self-sufficiency. We have helped to double this property's cash flows since we took on formal management duties several years ago. At resorts, a similar story here. We were the first Native American tribe to manage a commercial facility. Before us, it was always the other way around. When we came on, the property was generating negative $12 million of cash flow and was on the brink of closure. After overseeing a $100 million CapEx upgrade and rejuvenating the property's appeal and brand with entertainment, such as the now famous, free Jimmy Buffett concert on the beach, the property's cash flows increased to positive $20 million over a period of the next 5 years. So a $30 million swing in a very competitive market. Let me skip down to the Inspire South Korea. This is a transformational development for this company and will be driving benefits to this tribe for generations to come. Our 600-acre development site is located next to the Incheon International Airport, one of the busiest airports in the world, and within a 2-hour flight of 4 of the most populated cities in the world, including Seoul, which is less than an hour away. And I will note the frequent direct flights from Seoul to Las Vegas and the opportunity to introduce additional international cross-marketing from Northern Asia into Nevada. Next slide. In our present, and certainly in our future, you will see us diversifying further into digital gaming. As you can see at the top of this slide, we are presently involved in digital gaming, which includes social gaming, sports betting, and online gaming in 5 jurisdictions. Several years ago, we made a move to invest in our own digital gaming platform development and made an investment in iPro, a Nevada technology company, which has developed a very flexible software program which can support social gaming, online gaming, and with some modifications, online sports betting as well, which is a rare find. And this will further our ability to penetrate this growing industry in the future. Next slide. I would like to spend a few moments talking about our response to the COVID-19 pandemic and related facility closures. In part because I think our major decisions during this very uncertain time speaks volumes about the heart of this organization. In March 2020, within the span of 3 days, we went from 7 properties open and operating to 7 properties closed. We then moved very swiftly. Within days, we drew down the entirety of our remaining revolver balance. We immediately furloughed 98% of our workforce, or approximately 11,000 employees, but maintained their medical benefits. The remainder of that workforce, that 2%, took meaningful compensation reductions. We deferred rent and debt payments, and we dramatically reduced operating expenses, CapEx, and other costs, all in that very short period of time after we closed. Then, a few months later, when we were contemplating reopening again in June, we frankly had a very simple choice. Were we going to put safety over profit, or were we going to put profit over safety? We chose the former. Why? Simply because we're a government focused on our generational reputation and sustainability. And as we've said earlier, because we consider our employees part of our own family. And in fact, we have hundreds of employees who literally are part of our family. They are part of the family of the ownership group, the Mohegan tribe. And thus our first priority was not only to reopen safely, but to reopen at a level of safety that would well exceed the minimum standards available in any other jurisdiction. Let me give you an example of some of the measures that we took. We spent millions of dollars at each property on health and safety technology. We installed thermal temperature screening cameras. We installed UV air handling and lighting. We installed contact tracing technology. We developed our own in-house plexiglass fabrication and placed those plexiglass stations at every transaction area. In addition to those technology changes that we made, we also introduced many new operational SOPs, such as mandatory masks for guests and team members, no smoking, social distancing, new signage and training, and new cleaning protocols. I've reviewed personally the minimum measures in every major jurisdiction and every published health and safety plan from our major industry peers, and I do indeed feel as if our plan meets or exceeds every one of those plans. And it has turned out that making that right health and safety decision for our employees has not only been the right decision for them, but it's also been the right decision for our business. So with that, I'd like to thank you all again for your time today. And now I'd like to turn it over to Joe Hassan, General Manager of Mohegan Sun Casino at Virgin Las Vegas. Joe?
Thank you, Mario. Appreciate that. It's my pleasure, Chair Morgan, Member Johnson, Member Katsaros, to be here today. I'm broadcasting from Las Vegas, and I've been proud to call Las Vegas my home since 1998. I've been in the industry since 1981. I am particularly pleased and privileged to be with you today, not just because of I'll call it my roots in Nevada, but also because the privilege has been extended to me by Mohegan Gaming and Entertainment to lead their brand to Las Vegas. Nothing could be more pleasing for me. I'm proud. I feel the gravity of it. I want to carry their brand proudly. When I hear the senior-most members of the business talk about the spirit of a quay, welcoming, cooperation, mutual respect, building relationships, I feel as if I'm in a very familiar place. It sounds like hospitality to me, and it indeed is hospitality. And it's something that my career has given me the opportunity to practice both in Nevada and elsewhere throughout the United States for decades. So again, thank you for having me today. I'm particularly pleased to be here. I have a brief slideshow that I'd like to present, and we'll start with that first slide. Pending approval, of course, we plan to open Mohegan Sun Casino Las Vegas on January 15, 2021. It will feature 650 slot machines, and upon opening, approximately 50 table games. We have additional options beyond that, both in our slot inventory and our table inventory, and we'll adjust according to demand. Next slide, please. We'll partner with JC Hospitality, the landlord at the resort, along with Virgin Hotels, the operator of the lodging component of the resort. The Curio Collection by Hilton Hotels is also part of the partnership mix, as is AEG Presents Entertainment. Those business partners, along with ourselves, will constitute the operating committee and will be the policy and procedure makers, enforcers, and executors at the property. Most importantly for this meeting today, I want to assure you that surveillance will be operated by Mohegan Sun Casino, reporting to me. It will maintain coverage property-wide, resort-wide. Security will report to JC Hospitality, except for those matters that directly affect the casino and the casino bars. In those cases, the security team will take their operating direction and guidance from myself or from my designee on duty. Information technology will function similarly to security, reporting to JC Hospitality and Virgin Hotels, but while engaged on any casino matters, the IT team will take direction and guidance from my office, including my designees on duty. Also of very much importance, the compliance manager reporting to me as part of my executive committee will maintain oversight along with security, surveillance, and the operating committee resort-wide. We understand the importance of compliance, both from MGE's perspective and from the state of Nevada's perspective. And I take that to heart personally and professionally. I can assure you that the operating committee will meet on any matter that the compliance manager brings to our attention or that comes to our attention from any other source at least every other week, but we have the contractual authority to bring that group together at any time. So there is never a lag time or a delay in terms of assembling that operating committee of managers, inclusive of myself and my partner colleagues that I've described. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Thank you. The business plan and the economic outlook for Mohegan Sun Casino Las Vegas. Of course, we recognize that we are in challenging economic times, not only in Las Vegas and Nevada-wide, but nationwide and perhaps worldwide. Nonetheless, having been in Nevada for the amount of time that I've described and having been in the industry of hospitality and gaming for far longer, I know that our industry is a resilient one. I also know that our industry is very capable of reinventing itself continuously, and it is responsive to economic challenges and economic opportunities. We will take great care of both. We will watch them carefully and prosecute them accordingly. Important today for me to tell you is that construction and our pre-opening investments are on time and on budget. Mario mentioned a few moments ago that in the deepest, darkest moments of COVID and closing down of MGE businesses, that the company made decisions to suspend or to defer capital investments. I can assure you here today, no such decision to slow down the investment that we planned in Las Vegas took place. I had a checkbook that was planned and thoughtfully presented long before COVID became a reality. What I've done is, with due care and with my colleagues working hand in hand with me from Connecticut, we've carefully deployed that capital without being asked to change that capital. So I'm very pleased about that because it allows us to stay on the glide path that was originally planned for investing in this resort. This is a highly strategic fit for Mohegan Gaming and Entertainment. Most importantly, it allows us to present a lodging and gaming destination in Las Vegas in the resort corridor to those guests who have known Mohegan Gaming and Entertainment, particularly from the East Coast and Canada and elsewhere throughout the nation, and give them a destination in Las Vegas where they will find the brand and the hospitality amenities that they are familiar with elsewhere. This is why our business is here today. It is part of a bigger strategic plan for Mohegan Gaming and Entertainment to have their brand in Las Vegas. It's been mentioned before that this is Native America's first brand presence in the resort corridor in Las Vegas. And again, the investment size is right-sized for Mohegan at this time. Next slide, please. I am particularly pleased to have the opportunity to fulfill a promise that was made by JC Hospitality, the landowner and the landlord of the resort. And that promise was that they would return their team to work after the shutdown of the former resort and following the reimagination and reinvention of the resort. For me, that means that there are more than 300 veteran casino and casino beverage team members that I am anxious to bring back to duty in the new resort called Mohegan Sun Casino Las Vegas at Virgin Hotels. Nothing could please me more than extending a welcoming hand and a greeting to those team members who know more about the resort than I can possibly know at this time. What they'll find is a completely reinvented resort, but what I know inherently is that they will welcome their former guests and they will rebond with their former colleagues in a way that creates a synergy that is designed for success. A similar promise has been made by Virgin Hotels for those team members who are the lodging, the food and beverage, and the other important people components that make a resort successful. I'm very pleased to be a part of that. We will also work collaboratively with agreements that exist and are in place with Culinary Workers Union Local 226, Bartenders Local 165, and the International Union of Operating Engineers Local 501 in Las Vegas. Most importantly, the average team member that comes back to work, and we've spoken to many of them asking, do they intend to return? And almost without exception, most of them do plan to return. They will be able to boast more than 13 years of prior experience at the resort. As a general manager, there's no better formula. That is a perfect formula for me and for the success of the team. Next slide, please. The leadership team features two important dimensions that I'm pleased to describe to you today. Firstly, half of our leadership team is constituted of the legacy veterans of the former resort, and half the leadership team is constituted of long-term Las Vegas veterans. It'll make for a nice blend that dovetails and creates a leadership team that both understands the resort and understands the marketplace and its competitive dynamics and its commitment to service and hospitality. It should be very easy for me to bring Mohegan Gaming and Entertainment's spirit of Aquay to this business. I have long-term veterans of the prior resort. I have long-term veterans of Las Vegas in the industry, people who genuinely understand hospitality and service. Next slide, please. A hard dimension in this day and age, opening in the COVID era. I've had a chance, along with my management team, to look at best practices, not just in Las Vegas, but industry-wide, including those practices that were brought to bear by Mohegan Gaming and Entertainment nationwide. We will comply, of course, with all of the policy directives that are issued by the state of Nevada, by the Nevada Gaming Control Board, with particular note, the October 1, 2020 notice to non-restricted licensees. We will take that to heart. Certainly our training will guide our team to that. Social distancing will be communicated and reinforced by staff. Adjacent slot machines will be segregated by plexiglass and more specifically Lexan or equivalent products. Table games will also be outfitted with appropriate separators. Guests will be temperature scanned upon arrival. Face masks absolutely required in accordance with the directives that currently exist. And enhanced cleaning procedures at the resort are already underway. I routinely work at the resort today, and I can tell you from firsthand observation of the environmental crews, they do a terrific job of keeping the building clean so that we have that fundamental building block of keeping the building safe along with its people. We will practice these with diligence and again, in accordance with all directives issued by all government and regulatory agencies. Next slide, please. Construction is ongoing at the resort 7 days per week. This is just a peek at some of the construction underway in the casino. That is a peek at what will ultimately be what we refer to as the party pit or beacon bar. And I'm looking at the east side of the casino on the right. Again, construction ongoing 7 days per week and on time at this point. Next slide, please. I'm excited to bring MGE's Momentum loyalty program to this marketplace. Again, the database of Mohegan Gaming and Entertainment is very rich, particularly on the East Coast. We know both experientially and from data science that those guests that we know at Mohegan's flagship property in Connecticut find their way to Las Vegas. Unfortunately today, when they find their way to Las Vegas, they don't find their way to a Mohegan offering. Again, with regulatory approval on January 15, we're prepared to have that offering and to be able to accommodate and take good care of the richness of the Mohegan database. The Mohegan Rewards program, again called Momentum, is portable, both inside the resort as guests earn loyalty premiums, whether it's based on slot play or table play. Those premiums that they earn can be redeemed inside the hotel, the food and beverage venues, and elsewhere throughout the Las Vegas resort here at Virgin Hotels. Above and beyond that, those rewards and premiums are portable across the company as well. And we will take great care to make sure that guests find that as seamless as we can make it in order to encourage their loyalty and to take good care of them when they're in Las Vegas. Next slide, please. A new offering at the resort that did not exist in its prior legacy capacity is the Aspire Private Gaming Salon. We will, and currently we are building what is illustrated on this slide, and that is a private gaming area that allows us to offer rules and betting limits that will match what is offered at Mohegan Sun, Connecticut. That's an important strategic and tactical dimension for us, because when I described that the database is rich nationwide, when I tried to attract that database to Mohegan Sun Casino Las Vegas, I want to make sure that the offerings that I have are both familiar and accommodating of those guests, particularly the guests at the high end of the worth spectrum. So again, Aspire Private Gaming will facilitate that, and I look forward to operating it along with the team at Mohegan Sun Casino Las Vegas. Next slide, please. Coming soon, fingers crossed, knocking on wood, I'm looking forward to doing business and partnering with Betfred USA. Betfred will be our sportsbook operator upon licensing, and I know for those of the regulatory team today, you know that Betfred is tentatively before you in the near future as they do all that they need to do to obtain their appropriate licensure in Nevada, along with their technical platform provider, Scientific Games. In the meantime, I will have a place to watch sports. This will be a terrific book once we put it together from a construction perspective. And the day will only be, I hope, shortly thereafter, where partnering with Betfred USA and their Chief Operating Officer, Brian Bennett, that I'll be able to offer to our guests a partnered sports book in connection with their brand. Next slide, please. The resort will feature extensive restaurant dimensions, and I can assure you today that there will be no way to leave Mohegan Sun Casino Las Vegas or Virgin Hotels Las Vegas hungry. It simply won't be possible to leave hungry. The offerings will include Hakkasan's Casa Calavera, Kasi Beach Club, direct from Los Angeles. Nick Mathers has put that together. I'm excited to have Todd English back in Las Vegas. His Olives restaurant will be featured at the resort. Next slide, please. Los Angeles's Night and Market Thai is soon to arrive. I'm a Thai food fan. I'll look forward to sampling that myself. David and Michael Morton will bring MB Steak back to the resort. They will be on a bigger footprint than they had in the resort's prior life. We're excited about that. Next slide, please. Chef Nobu will return from hiatus. He had a pop-up opportunity on the Strip. He brings the Nobu restaurant back to the resort at Virgin Hotels, Las Vegas. The Shag Room will debut. Next slide, please. 24-hour restaurant concept, newly introduced, will be the kitchen at Commons Club, along with the bar at Commons Club. Next slide, please. Another exciting one is Clive Collective's Money Baby. That's Justin Massey's concept, a place to watch sports, to interactively participate in some sports, and to grab a great food and beverage opportunity, all while being entertained in a large screen environment. Look forward to having Money Baby at the resort. Also returning will be Pizza Forte. That's the local Ferraro family bringing their concept back to the resort. Next slide, please. Funny Library Coffee Shop is in the lineup. That features, of course, Hugh Jackman's favorite coffee. Also, After's Ice Cream, Southern California's favorite. I look at that slide and I say calories that I've got to try. The Milky Bun, looking forward to it. Next slide, please. Lodging, of course, Sir Richard Branson and Virgin Hotels bring their brand along with the Hilton Curio Collection, which allows us to take good advantage of the depth of their database and their reservation system, featuring at the resort 1,500 plus parlors and suites. Those suites are of the caliber that will compete in this market, nicely reinvented from the former resort, bringing it forward to Virgin Hotels and the Hilton Curio Collection. Next slide, please. AEG Presents will take care of entertainment at the resort. That's an old depiction of the Joint. I believe that room will be renamed. You'll recall that it does have capacity for approximately 4,500 guests, when not restricted, of course. We will do, along with AEG, all the appropriate things in a COVID environment to slowly bring that back to life And I look forward to AEG, along with the depth of understanding and experience that MGE brings to entertainment. I look forward to all that that can do to drive the new venue as it is renamed at Virgin Hotels. That completes my presentation of the property, and I'm pleased to turn it back over to Mark Camella.
Thank you, Joe. I can assure you that the deck that I have that I'm going to walk through doesn't have videos or pictures, but certainly compliance plays a key role in the continued success of the company and the tribe. I'd just like to start out by saying that I joined the company in November of 2017 to carry forward the commitment of the tribe and MGE to ensuring a strong culture of compliance in the markets where the company currently operates, as well as new markets both domestically and internationally. During the interview process, which consisted of 2 rounds with senior executives, it was clear to me that compliance was an important element to support the continued successes of the tribe and MGE. This was further evidenced with the existence of a compliance plan and compliance committee. To me, this clearly demonstrated a tone from the top culture. Next slide, please. One of the first things we did was establish a mission statement. Obviously, this serves to communicate purpose and direction to employees, customers, vendors, and other stakeholders. In simplifying the mission statement, the basic guiding principle is good compliance is good business. Next slide, please. In addition to building a cost-effective and operationally efficient compliant program made up of the right people, policies, and process, it was important to establish a welcoming environment that encourages all team members to ask questions and report areas of potential non-compliance. Compliance will take a proactive step to keep organizations aware of the importance of the mission, changes to regulatory landscape and industry best practices, but at the end of the day, we are all accountable for our actions and our performance. Next slide, please. This highlights the management board committees and membership. As you can see here, we have an audit committee, compensation committee, as well as a compliance committee. Next slide, please. I'd like to point out some of the additional members of the audit committee, Daniel Casella and Dan Scott. Their combined experience in gaming and lodging industry provides the committee with valuable insight into highly regulated casino gaming industry. Their experience includes executive level positions with companies in several jurisdictions, including Nevada. On the compliance committee side, in addition to the management board members, the committee includes senior leadership and Tom Oriema, our independent member and chairman. Tom is a leading gaming attorney, a former casino regulator for over 28 years, and a member of committees with other major non-restricted Nevada licensees. Next slide, please. We have several key governance documents, one of which obviously is the Code of Ethics. I'd like to let the board know that the company conducts annual and ongoing training. Course contents include anti-bribery and corruption, conflict of interest, workplace harassment and discrimination, speak up and be heard, and it's also important to note that the company has a zero tolerance policy for retaliation. In addition to code training, there are several other training programs offered, including but not limited to anti-money laundering, responsible gambling, and minors in gaming and bar areas. The company also provides an ethics hotline for reporting issues and concerns. Next slide, please. Another key governance document is our compliance plan. We did modify and update our plan, anticipating adding the Nevada property, and this plan was submitted as part of the investigative process to the agents. The plan covers the basic areas of third-party due diligence, material transactions, anti-money laundering, anti-bribery, and hotline reports. In closing, as Chairman Gessner noted in his presentation, the management board recognized that a strong culture of compliance starts with a tone from the top message. It sets the guiding values and ethical climate, something that is important to who we are as a people, and practices on all levels across the company. Thank you. I would now like to turn it back over to Mark Rubenstein.
Mr. Rubenstein, you're on mute.
Thank you. That nearly concludes our affirmative presentation, but before we conclude, I would like to recognize the board staff who conducted these numerous investigations, starting with Chief Mike Labadie and Deputy Chiefs Carl Hoffman and Russell Teggio, Supervisors Jake Abba and Chris Moyle, Senior Agents Kim Aramini, Joanne Chamberlain, Sean Crowley, Mark Robertson, and Justin Schweitzer, and Agents Heather Lambert, Brad Bernard, Brian Keeney, and Ryan Powell. We've reviewed the proposed set of conditions and the draft order of registration number 1 and find them both acceptable. We would note the condition as to the GM's application is currently satisfied with the application before you of Mr. Hassan, and we anticipate that the attestation of internal controls by our outside auditors will be satisfied by the time of the commission meeting. Finally, we would like to thank you for waiving the appearances of the withdrawn applicants and request that the withdrawals be granted without prejudice. With all that, we welcome your questions.
All right, well, thank you all for that thorough affirmative presentation. It was very helpful, enlightening, wonderful background, not only for us to understand more about the Mohegan tribe, but also obviously your plans here in Nevada. I mean, it actually addressed many of my questions, but I did want to confirm a couple of things just for the record. I know that you mentioned Mohegan Gaming is considered a publicly traded corporation because of its publicly traded debt, and you all are voluntary filers of periodic financial statements with the SEC.
That is correct.
All right. I just want to also confirm, as you know, that the public is involved and obviously also anticipating the opening of this property. Just to confirm, there's no tribal compact between the state of Nevada and the Mohegan tribe. You've entered into a casino lease agreement with JC Hospitality and are coming in to operate and manage that property off of Harmon Boulevard. And that you've all consented, and the individual seeking a finding of suitability have consented to the jurisdiction of the board, the commission, in the state of Nevada.
Absolutely correct, yes.
You mentioned this, and I don't know who, someone mentioned a lot of the efforts that were undertaken in March, or I should say since March, to ensure that you took steps to increase the company's liquidity. There was a mention of drawing down the remaining balance of your senior secured revolver. And our notes and investigation also mentions that you entered into a fourth amendment of a senior secured credit facility to assist in avoiding default, or actually just providing the availability of more cash. You also had a contribution from the tribe as well. Is that accurate since March?
Yes, and if you would like more detail, Mr. Contamarcos can respond to that.
Wonderful. Good morning, Mr. Contamarcos.
Good morning. Yeah, that's correct. I think everything you've stated is accurate. If you need any more detail, we can absolutely provide.
And just to confirm that this debt is actually being held at the, I should say, the parent company level, but you feel comfortable that there's enough safety nets in place to be able to effectively operate the property here in Las Vegas without increasing too much debt for the parent company?
We do. We do. It's a great question. Look, obviously the COVID pandemic had an impact and setback, not only our financial health, but every company in this industry due to the closures. But I'm happy to say that since we've reopened, our financial performance at almost all of our properties has been remarkably strong. In fact, our financial performance and our cash flows at many of our properties right now are actually higher now than they were at the same time last year prior to COVID. So every day that goes by, we continue to heal a little bit more of that financial damage caused by the closure. Our liquidity increases every day. And in fact, we are resolving ourselves to take measures over the next few months to build an even stronger balance sheet that will definitely be able to better withstand events like this going forward.
Well, hopefully we won't ever have a pandemic of this sort again, but I appreciate and actually just wanted to acknowledge the kind of forward-thinking steps that you've taken, right? And, you know, as soon as everything hit in March, I think you and your board are to be commended for that. You mentioned during the presentation, this actually wasn't something that I was planning on digging in too much about, but there was clearly a common theme of ensuring that, you know, workers are actually being part of the family, that you in and of yourself were a government focused on stability and reputation. There was a reference in the slide to being one of the best employers and best workplaces for diversity. What are you going to do to kind of bring those, clearly they're great accolades that you've received, and I'm think you're to be commended for that, but what are you going to do to bring that to Nevada and to kind of let these the current employees here that I'm very also happy to hear that some of them you plan on bringing back that used to work at the with the operator before you, but bringing that spirit of a quay and kind of those best practices that you've brought in the Northeast and other areas in the country. How do you plan on bringing that to Las Vegas?
Chair Morgan, Joe Hassan here. I can assure you that even at this time, with the small number of team members that are on duty at Mohegan Sun Casino Las Vegas, the Spirit of a Quay is already part of our training of culture program. I often lecture that myself. From time to time, one of my Virgin Hotels colleagues will stand with me, just in case calendars don't align correctly. But the vast majority of that training will be delivered by me or by one of my senior-most executives on the team. I mentioned during my presentation, Chairwoman Morgan, that it feels so familiar to me as a long-term veteran of the hospitality and gaming industry. When I think about the Spirit of a Quay, it is not something that I had to learn to present. I simply had to learn the words and make sure that I was pronouncing it correctly and in the correct sequence and learning the background behind it. I personally and professionally will continue to deliver that as both a message and a mandate and a training program to our teams so that the banner known today as a brand of Mohegan Gaming and Entertainment finds its way to stand proudly and to stand tall in Nevada. I genuinely believe that's the reason that my colleagues in Connecticut brought me aboard, because I understand the people dimension of the business, whether it is the team or whether it is the guests or whether it is our business partners, and that building relationships, one of the cornerstones of the Spirit of a Quay, is all part of that formula for success. Again, a very comfortable place to be if you're the general manager of a business like this.
Thank you, Mr. Hassan. You also mentioned in your comments the concept of the operating committee that you plan on having with JC Hospitality. I'm just wanted to dig in a little bit more into that because I know it was publicly announced that Virgin and Hilton have a partnership on the property. And then you have, obviously, you're here to run the gaming operations. And then you mentioned potential partnerships with AXS for the theater and Betfred with respect to the sports book. So ultimately, though, you as the gaming operator, if approved by recommended approval from the board and approved by the commission, will be responsible for that property. And so I appreciated your comments with respect to compliance and to security and for information technology, because those are things obviously that, you know, the board obviously regulates and expects to have very good feedback and actually responsiveness from our licensees when it comes to security and surveillance, when it comes to IT matters. And so just explain a little bit more for me, if you could, with respect to the operating agreement. How would Virgin and Hilton, if you're able to, understand that it is important for us to have very transparent information and information needed sometimes on a very quick basis when it comes to security, surveillance, IT, or anything else actually that we regulate? So it'll be a two-part question. That's part one. And then two, if you could just dig in a little bit more as to how that security team for the landlord or for JC Hospitality would interact with the surveillance team that would have to be, obviously, and I'm glad you recognize that, led by you and your team at Mohegan.
Let me speak first, Chairwoman Morgan, to the question of the cooperation and the partnership dimensions of those various entities, along with, of course, Mohegan Sun Casino Las Vegas. Throughout my career, it's always been a matter of dealing with partners, whether they be restaurant partners, whether they be entertainment or club partners, whether it be vendors that provide service that is essential to a business. In that spirit and with that background, I will find it both familiar and essential to gather those partners routinely and to agendize, here are the matters that are important, here are the matters contractually that exist between JC Hospitality, the landlord, and the casino entity, MGMV. And that contractual relationship provides us what I'll call the avenue or even the leverage to say, this is what we need to do in order to maintain good citizenship as a corporate entity and as a gaming licensee in Nevada. I will keep that both top of mind and top of agenda, working in partnership with those other operating leaders. I will not let it slip to somehow find itself falling down an agenda or falling off an agenda. I understand from all my years in Nevada and all my years elsewhere in the regulated industry that these matters are essential, they're important, and it's not just from a regulatory perspective. It is also from a brand perspective. Brand at the end of the day equals trust. I want to establish trust with guests, with team members, with the regulatory officials, with government, with vendors, with owners. And that's how my thinking shapes around this. I think the second part of your question, in terms of how will we make certain that surveillance and security and other essential functions, information technology, particularly when working on gaming matters, maintains the integrity that it needs to maintain. Again, the message comes from the top, and it is understood clearly and contractually by JC Hospitality, the landlord, and by MGNV, our corporate name here in Nevada. We will make certain, given that particularly surveillance has a direct reporting relationship to my office, and I already have a personal relationship in place with the chief operating officer of JC Hospitality, who I've known for many years, long before I came to this project. And I've made certain to establish a similar relationship with the chief of security at the resort, so that our offices are almost right next to each other, as a matter of fact, and I appreciate that just as a matter of convenience. We are already forging those bonds that allow us to fulfill not just our own expectation, but the obligation that is imposed upon us appropriately, both by the state, its regulatory structure, and by Mohegan Gaming and Entertainment, whether it be Mario's office or whether it be Mark Camella's office. We understand what it is that we're tasked with here, and we're prepared to deal with it successfully.
Thank you. With respect to the theater, so those acts and that will be managed, is that managed by jointly by Mohegan and by Virgin, or is it exclusively Mohegan?
The acts and the showroom are managed by AEG Presents Entertainment. I often describe to colleagues that the entire integrated resort is much like a good shopping mall. There is a landlord that is the real estate owner. And then there are anchor tenants that constitute the big box stores within that terrific shopping mall. So in our terrific mall, we've got a casino operator, we've got a hotel operator, we have multiple celebrity chef operators, and we have an entertainment operator, all funneling through the offices and the communication channels facilitated by the landlord, in this case, JC Hospitality. And with each of us, from a managerial perspective, sitting on an operating committee that routinely meets in order to establish, improve, and cure policies and procedures that make the entire facility and the entire integrated resort work appropriately for our guests.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hassan. Of course, I'm noting the plexiglass and the sanitizer that I could see for many of the members that are located in Connecticut. And I was pleased to see dedication on some of your presentation with regard to the COVID mitigation measures for health and safety. And happy to see that you've already familiarized yourself with the board's industry notices and obviously the governor's directives with respect to COVID mitigation. I was curious because there was a reference to a contact tracing technology. Was that for your employees or is that for guests as well?
I can speak I can speak to that from Mohegan Sun Casino Las Vegas's perspective. I think I would have to defer to Mario to speak about it relative to Mohegan Sun, Connecticut, or elsewhere. In Las Vegas, the landlord, along with my office and the human resource team, maintains a vigorous contact tracing process. I don't want to say that it is a technology. I want to say that it is more human driven at this point in time. But I will tell you that in the time that I've been at the resort site, which dates back to February of this year, I am aware on my team of one event that needed to be contact traced. It was handled within 16 hours. All contacts were made, understanding of people's whereabouts and prior travel directions and personal contacts had been made. And it was tracked by the risk manager who works with the landlord, along with the human resource team that works with the landlord in conjunction with my office. So it is functioning, but again, I don't want to tell you today that it is electronicized at Mohegan Sun Casino Las Vegas. I will dig deeper into that to better understand as we go forward in anticipation of opening.
Well, it's good to know that you have a process in place. Obviously, we, with inviting larger groups to your properties, it's imperative and actually required that you have a point of contact with the health district as well for those purposes. So glad to see that you're already in front of that. At this time, I don't have anything else, so I would want to see if either board member has any questions. I may have some additional questions based on their lines of questioning. Member Johnson or Member Katsaros?
Yes, I can go ahead and go. Just review a couple of the items that were discussed. You talked about the number of slots and the table games you anticipate having, as well as the salon. Will there be a poker room at this location as well?
Member Johnson, there is not a poker room currently designed into the casino floor plan. I don't see that in the immediate future. I will tell you that as part of my table game legacy inventory, I do have poker tables. So I could roll it out, but I don't want to be forward thinking at this point in time to tell you when I might do that or even where I might put it.
Okay, and then with regards to something somewhat related, the salon. So I guess you're kind of juxtaposing some things. Apparently, I believe there was a poker room previously, but not a salon. Henceforth, there will not be a poker room, but there will be a gaming salon. And
that is correct, Member Johnson.
Okay, and so I was just interested further in the rationale behind the gaming salon. Is that to, I think you may have alluded to it, perhaps leverage some marketing between this location and some of the other locations, but just wanted to see if you could expand on that.
Absolutely, and you've characterized that correctly. From a marketing and merchandising perspective, it is important for the brand of Mohegan Gaming and Entertainment to be able to accommodate its Las Vegas-bound guests who are inbound from other locations. If we can import, so to speak, to Las Vegas, those guests who are richly represented inside the multiple databases that constitute Mohegan Gaming and Entertainment, we want to make sure that there is a familiar offering for them when they arrive. And frankly, this would be for new coming guests also. Those guests who meet the qualifications necessary to conform to the licensure documents that were prepared and submitted to the Nevada Gaming Control Board in order to approve that salon. It's a scenario where we see it as a tactical opportunity, but also a brand opportunity and necessity from a marketing and merchandising perspective. Last thing I would want to do is tell an inbound guest from Mohegan Sun, Connecticut, where they're accustomed to certain rules of the game, certain niceties and amenities associated with their gaming experience, or certain betting limits, that I can't do that. I would prefer to treat them in a manner that is parallel and familiar to what it is that they are familiar with at our flagship property. That's what gives rise tactically and strategically to Aspire Salon at Mohegan Sun Casino, Las Vegas.
Okay. And are there salons at any of the other Mohegan properties in the portfolio?
There are, and I'm going to defer to Mario. The ones that I am particularly familiar with are at the flagship property, Mohegan Sun, Connecticut. I've seen those and they are magnificent. Ours will be equally magnificent. I am not familiar with the same dimensions at all of the Enterprises properties, so I would defer to Mario in that regard.
That's correct, Joe. We do have private gaming salons here in Connecticut.
Okay. And then in terms of some of that cross-marketing and leveraging those marketing opportunities, incoming guests to Las Vegas will have other opportunities as well, right? With regards to the Virgin Hotels brand, with regards to the Hilton brand, there will be other opportunities for them to partake of as well in that regard, right?
Of course, that is the case. The opportunity that we look forward to with both Virgin Hotels and more specifically the Hilton Curio Collection is that the Hilton database of guests who travel worldwide is a very deep and rich, I'll call it a treasure trove of traveling visitors, particularly those bound for Las Vegas. The opportunity to market and merchandise that opportunity via Hilton's database in order to accommodate them as part of the Hilton Curio Collection, Virgin Hotels Las Vegas, is an important dimension of the future success of this resort.
All right. And then perhaps the last question on marketing and branding. How will it work with regards to the appearance of this structure? I was trying to visualize what persons will see when they drive up to the property, what they will see when they go inside of the property. In general terms, how will the location and the gaming aspect in particular be marketed to the public when they arrive on site?
Member Johnson, it will be marketed several ways and merchandised several ways. Upon approaching the property, the vast majority of the exterior identity of the property will identify as Virgin Hotels. Now, certainly there are electronic signage opportunities that are both rotating signs and programmable signs that will also feature the Mohegan name as part of a rotation of the options and the features inside Virgin Hotels. Once you enter the facility, with approximately a 60,000 square foot footprint on the ground level of the facility, it will be impossible to miss the casino. There's another important dimension of merchandising in that regard. And again, it is electronic signage. It is all money handling, money vending, ATM opportunities. Those are all contractually owned or operated by the casino. So again, I don't think it will be possible to enter the facility without knowing that you are now inside Mohegan Sun Casino at Virgin Hotels Las Vegas. But again, the exterior of the building will largely be identified as Virgin Hotels.
There was previously a Hard Rock Cafe on the corner of the premises. I don't know, I never quite understood what the relationship was between that cafe and the main property, but I think it's either been demolished or at least been closed down. Is there any relationship between that structure and the property here?
I'm not familiar enough with the history of the property to think back far enough to the Hard Rock Cafe. I have, from my time in Las Vegas, I have a vague memory of it, but not a memory that is solid enough to comment on that today. The Hard Rock brand is now removed from the property. Now, I say removed, there are several remaining steps. If I were to drive past the property 10 minutes from now, I would still be able to see Hard Rock Hotel on the high-rise superstructure of the facility. But to the extent that the landlord no longer has the legal rights or ownership of that brand, ultimately this resort in its newest reinvention must be devoid of all Hard Rock references.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Can I jump in, Chair Morgan?
Oh, please.
And between that very thorough presentation and the dialogue we've just had, is there anything left for me to cover? I guess perhaps I can squeeze out a few questions here. But no, thank you very much for that, Mr. Hassan and Mr. Contamaricos and everyone else on the team. It was very thorough. I do love that you guys led with the spirit of Acquai with that presentation, with and also with your focusing in quite a bit on your dedication to your team members, as well as your compliance to COVID-related measures and keeping your guests and employees safe. I think that says a lot about you guys. What also speaks a lot about you guys is the fact that during our investigation, I think, and we're going to go, I know, through some 15 individual applications throughout all of this, I don't know that I would even call much of a hiccup in my estimation throughout the entire investigation that had been had over the course of the last 10 months. So again, I think that speaks volumes. Just as an aside, I think Nevada itself, as much as a regulator can embody the spirit of Acquai, I think we are. I think what you will find as regulators here, if you're following the rules, regulations, making good decisions, we are pretty much out of your hair, although we're always there. We have investigators constantly combing the property floors, doing covert activities. So we're always there. Of course, as you probably already know too, we have the lowest tax rate of any North American market, commercial market that is, and perhaps probably the lowest tax rate in the world. But I just wanted to mention that as an aside. I did also want to comment on something Mr. Contamaricos mentioned as well with regard to the design and the flow of the Mohegan Sun. I've spent a bit of time there, been there a couple of times, and you immediately see the distinction that that property has with other properties around the world. There's beautiful properties everywhere, but that property in particular is very distinctive. The flow is, unsurpassed, and the atmosphere is amazing there. So I can completely concur with that. And therein lies one of the questions. So would you imagine, perhaps this is for Mr. Hassan, that the decor will somewhat reflect something similar to that of the Mohegan Sun? As far as the casino floor is concerned, I mean, I do note that you are maintaining that center bar with the picture that you had showed us here a minute ago. So I'm just curious. I wanted to focus in a little bit on the property and the updates that you guys have done again.
Member Katsaris, thank you for that question. From a decor point of view, we wanted to make sure that the casino and the hotel was a seamless integration in terms of design motif, colorways, and again, the general ambiance of the facility. It is what I would describe as a desert motif. It is a combination of beiges, desert browns with pops of color as well. I'm demonstrating that I am neither a designer nor an architect, but nonetheless, it is an appealing property and resort. And I think what most will find when they enter for the first time, they will sense familiarity. If they had been to the resort in its prior life, they will sense familiarity, but concurrently they will see complete reinvention. And it is a reimagination of the property. That one image that I showed that showed a bar was not the center bar that you may recall. It actually was what was known long ago as the Smash Bar. And I think it had another name prior to that in an earlier life at the former resort. Nonetheless, that bar that I showed in my slide package is meant to be a bit lounge-like, as are other bars operated by Virgin Hotels at the resort. Familiarity with complete change, if that makes sense.
It does. So would that bar be to the west of the property? I thought you mentioned it was the east side of the property.
The bar that I showed you was the west side of the property. West. The other image on the right-hand side was the east side of the property, the main area of the casino floor, so to speak.
Understood. And then did I hear you mention that the joint will be rebranded to a different name?
It is my understanding that the joint will experience a name change. I am not currently familiar with where or when that name may be unveiled.
Okay. And then you just mentioned the casino floor, so let's talk about that. Are you guys undergoing a floor refresh with your gaming offerings there in terms of your slot content and mix?
That is correct, Member Katsaros. From a floor refresh, we will offer approximately 650 slot machines. That includes an amalgamation of new games, games that are newest available by lease or fee from manufacturers. It includes legacy games, the best that were available, the tried and true favorites from the former casino resort. And it includes some small component of inventory from Mohegan Sun, Connecticut, where we appropriately tugged on the sleeve of our big sister and said, we need a few more beautiful, appealing, fresh games beyond what we are currently buying anew. Please provide us with enough to fulfill our inventory and our backstock. So something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue, I think is the best way to describe that. On the table game side,
well, actually, if we could stop on the slots, then would you say that your floor is going to be a similar makeup if we look at, say, leased versus premium content, video reels, mechanical reels, that content or that makeup that you have at Mohegan Sun, is that going to be a similar mix here in Vegas?
When I think about the content at Mohegan Sun, Connecticut, that is I would describe it appropriately as a monster casino. There is every brand, every dimension, every denomination, every game theme, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, at Mohegan Sun, Connecticut. It is awe-inspiring, and I think Mario said it best when that B-roll film ran. He says that it touches him. I will tell you, as a relative newcomer to the company, it touches me as well, each time that I see it and hear it. And I use some of that in the training programs that we execute here in Las Vegas. Nonetheless, from a slot perspective, we are bringing to the floor what we believe will be competitive in Las Vegas, a rich dimension of video poker, latest, newest, freshest, available by fee-based purchase-only games from manufacturers. The tried and true games that never seem to fall out of favor in Las Vegas. But principally what we looked at to create the slot floor here was, what does a Las Vegas guest want? And of course, there's no end to the examples that you could look at in this marketplace. We focused on those properties that we thought were the ideal ones to either mimic, pattern, or follow in terms of what we knew historically about the resort versus what we think are the up and coming trends in terms of slot product.
Okay. And then
same is true on the table side. On tables, there are 50, I'll describe it, legacy games in the inventory from the prior resort. I have since purchased 5 new games, new tables to supplement our inventory. We have some additional roulette wheel heads that are fresh. I won't count those as tables. It is simply a component of a table. There is an opportunity for us in the near future to deploy tables to the poolside gaming operations at the resort. I haven't thought that fully through yet, but I know the space is there to do so when the pools are refreshed and reinvented. And we will draw from the manufacturers, the various manufacturers, full menu of what I would describe as carnival or side bet games, where we have options available for guests that conform and meet the needs of what guests seem to appreciate in the Las Vegas marketplace today. So we have a full menu to choose from, so to speak.
That increase in slots then, from my count, it seemed there was an increase of, say, maybe 100 slots from the previous operator. Would that be accurate?
If I look back to the prior resort, they had thinned the floor. I can't say with certainty what the final number was on the day they closed. I had not joined Mohegan Gaming and Entertainment until shortly after that casino was closed. So while I had looked at it a number of times, I was not diligent enough at that time to say exactly what do they have. But I think it's fair to say that we've got more slots and more tables ready to deploy than the last moments of the previous iteration of the resort.
Okay. And just to comment on the pool there, they used to have poolside gaming there. So I know it's built out already, unless you guys have ripped all that up. On the system then, are you going to be utilizing the legacy or whatever system they had previously as well?
Previously, from a system backbone perspective, it was an IGT-based system. We are bringing to bear, in conjunction with IGT, their newest showcase IGT system. We become essentially a showcase platform for rolling out and deploying that system. It gives us the best opportunity to manage something that was familiar for the legacy workforce. Nonetheless, it has all the newest features and attributes that IGT can roll out in the Nevada regulatory and business marketplace. So we are first in line for their showcase system in Nevada.
Do you happen to know what system you're using out in Connecticut?
I'm going to defer to my colleagues in Connecticut on that.
This is the gaming system we're talking about?
Yes.
This is the Bally system? The legacy Bally system, yeah.
Okay. And I imagine you've got several different systems throughout your enterprise, having all the different properties in different states. You'd mentioned about the Momentum Rewards program, being able to utilize those points as a player. So you'll have basically a bridge between those systems that allow for points to be seamlessly used throughout the, is it 9 properties that you have?
That's correct. Our plan over the long term, and including Las Vegas, is to be able to have portability between the points that are generated at any property to be able to be transferred over to the others.
Okay. And you mentioned that was you were one of the first to do that, particularly with the vendors within the property. I didn't, I guess I wasn't around at that point in my life. I still was in college, but I think that's a critical component these days, to be able to use those player points, and so that they are portable throughout the property, because there's a lot of things that frustrate patrons. One of which is that I go to use my points somewhere and they say, oh, no, not here. You can use it next door, but not here. Here's cash or credit card or debit card only.
Absolutely.
And I did miss, I think, the dialogue you had with Member Johnson there, Mr. Hassan, with regard to that old restaurant. What will that space now, what will encompass that space now?
When I look to the restaurant lineup, I want to say that space was separate from, I shouldn't say separate, it was adjacent to what is the footprint today. And I'm doing this from memory without having an accurate memory of where the Hard Rock Cafe sat on the land footprint of the resort. Nonetheless, our 24-hour offering going forward at Virgin Hotels will be the kitchen at Commons Club. It is an assurance that I can tell you that what was formerly in the prior resort referred to as Mr. Lucky's is the space that will be occupied by the kitchen at Commons Club.
Okay. And that was adjacent to the floor. The Hard Rock restaurant, that's been shuttered for a while now, was on the southeast corner, I think Harmon and Paradise there.
That's how I want to remember it as well, even though my memory is a vague one.
It seemed there's been some construction going on there, that you were actually going to connect that building, or it seemed that the building was torn down, and then the existing footprint of the building, meaning the casino, was then extended to encompass a portion of that parcel. But nonetheless, I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys have done there. Is it fair to say, of course, it was mentioned at the beginning, this will be the first time a tribal nation will be operating a casino within the Strip corridor. Is it fair to say, or correct me if I'm wrong, that this could perhaps be a stepping stone if you were approved by the commission for greater involvement and investment within Nevada?
I'm going to defer to Mario on that.
Thank you, Joe. I think the best way to answer that is that we have a phenomenal opportunity here in front of us to be able to showcase who we are, our brand, the technology, as you so well pointed out, and our style of service, which I think is, amongst the best, if not the best in the industry. We want to do an excellent job here. And to the extent that that over time turns into future opportunities, we will absolutely look at that. But for the time being, we are absolutely focused on making this the best possible experience it could be.
Okay, thank you for that. I can imagine you'll be keeping your eyes peeled for any equally sort of opportunistic opportunities in Nevada as well. I can concur with what you just said there. I think this is an excellent opportunity, not just for you, but for JC Hospitality. I think they probably had seen in you the fact that you've got operating experience going back decades now, not to mention the huge player and patron database that you have. But one thing you also hit on was the cross-marketing opportunities that you have. Can you talk a little bit more about that? What opportunities you see there? You know best what patrons that visit Mohegan Sun in Connecticut are most likely to visit Las Vegas or probably already have visited Las Vegas. Can you talk a little bit about that and your plan there?
I'd love to. This is something that gets us very excited. Look, we have, to the question that you asked before, we have been exploring a location in Las Vegas for many years. In advance of doing that, we had surveyed our guests on several occasions, and there, which is not going to be surprising to hear that many of them, a majority of them, had visited Las Vegas and have experience in Las Vegas and like to continue to visit Las Vegas. So that was not an idea or a notion that was lost on us during our exploration process. When we run those surveys at all of our properties, whether it's in Connecticut, whether it's in Pennsylvania, whether it's in New Jersey, in Niagara, and even in Korea, we find similar findings. And so we believe that not only will Las Vegas benefit from all of those different geographies, and we think that those geographies are somewhat under-indexed and underrepresented in Las Vegas right now, and we believe we have the opportunity to improve that. But also there's a certain quality of our guests. There's a certain quality in terms of the spend per visit of our guests relative to the average regional property in the United States that I think Las Vegas will benefit from. And so all of those factors combined really drive a significant amount of excitement for us when we think about the synergy that's available between the properties that we have in Las Vegas.
I think synergy is a great word. Some people don't like those buzzwords. I don't typically, but I love that one because I think it really hits the nail on the head. The direct flights then from Las Vegas to Incheon, of course, very attractive, very important. Do you currently get patronage? What portion of your business in Connecticut, and I know I'm honing in on Connecticut, is your flagship property? I'm not dismissing all the other ones, frankly. We're very familiar with those as well. We've got materials on it. I visited a couple of them before too, personally. But as far as patronage to Mohegan Sun in Connecticut, could you break down international visitation versus, say, regional versus greater North America?
I can do it with a little bit of, and I'll ask for a little bit of leniency that I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but I can say this, that after our project in Korea was announced, we did see an increase in visitation from the Far East, especially on the high-end side in Connecticut. That is a notion that is probably not unfamiliar to the members of the board. I think many of the companies in Las Vegas also experienced that when they opened their Asian facilities. So we are seeing that, in our property in Incheon is even yet to open. So we believe that that'll be a benefit for our properties here in North America, even more so after the property opens. I'll also mention that in Canada, and Niagara Falls is obviously a major destination in and of itself. Approximately 12 million people visit that destination every year. the number 4 or number 5 group or nation that contributes visitors to Niagara Falls is in fact Korea. And so we do get a significant amount of international visitation, particularly on the high-end side. I will say that our visitation, if we focus on Connecticut, generally is from a larger radius than most regional properties that we might be familiar with. Most regional properties will tend to generate most of their business, 80 to 90%, within an hour's drive, because of the scale and the reach of Mohegan Sun, because of the acts, because of the conventions, because of the events that we hold here. That reach tends to be much further out, 2 to 3 hours away. And so I hopefully that's a decent approach to the question.
It is. I'm just going to have one quick follow-up, though, from the European side.
From the European side. Well, that's interesting because that's a market that, for a lot of reasons in Connecticut, we've never really had to touch. We've had 99% occupancy in our hotel for the greater part of the last decade. And actually going forward, we're very much looking forward to the fact that many Europeans may be able to visit Las Vegas as well as the properties on the East Coast.
And that's kind of where I was going with it too, because I wasn't sure whether you had a very large base of patronage from Europe right now. But we do see that, of course, in Las Vegas, whether it's from Asia, whether it's from Europe, or anywhere else in parts of the world. So the cross-marketing capacity that you have with a property in Las Vegas really it's unmeasured until you actually experience it. And it's not lost on me that you're going to then want to cross-market back east. You've got a beautiful portfolio of casinos. But again, I'll mention we've got a lower tax rate here. So when somebody's gambling in Las Vegas,
well
it benefits that business. Like I said, you guys had a very thorough presentation, Chair Morgan. I don't have anything else at this very moment.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thanks, Member Katsaros. A couple things, because we do have a lot of individuals we need to get through. There was something in our investigative report with respect to your mobile and interactive gaming app. Is that something, and I don't know if this question is better for the folks in Connecticut or Mr. Hassan, are you going to have your own mobile or interactive gaming app that would be separate from Betfred, or is that something that you think that Betfred would do the actual physical sports book and handle any type of mobile wagering as well?
Chairwoman Morgan, from Las Vegas perspective, that interactive dimension of the business, we will await Betfred and their scientific games platform, and I anxiously look forward to that. I do not currently have, on behalf of Mohegan Sun Casino Las Vegas, an alternative plan. But to the extent that my colleagues in Connecticut may very well be down a path that parallels a homegrown or even a separately purchased or sourced mobile app, of course I'm receptive to it. But right now my plan is awaiting Betfred and scientific games.
Okay, thank you. So we do have a host of individuals. I think Member Katsaros mentioned that there was not anything that he saw that was concerning. I would agree with that. But because this is the first time that all of you, with the exception of Mr. Hassan, are actually going to seek a finding of suitability or license in Nevada, I think it would be best if you all could just, as we go through each individual, introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your how long you've been with Mohegan, any other gaming experience or professional experience you'd like to share, and just allow us to get to know you a little bit better. And if you wouldn't mind just sharing some of your professional experience, and then we can open it up for questions after each individual is done with their own affirmative. Is that okay with you, Mr. Rubenstein?
That works perfectly. Thank you.
All right, great. So we'll go ahead and start with Mr. Gessner.
Yes. So good morning. Is my mic on, Tracy?
Yes, we can hear you.
So I'm going to afternoon or good morning there. So, my name's James Gessner. I actually, Ralph James Gessner. I actually grew up in New Orleans, Louisiana. Went to school there, and after graduation, moved to Connecticut in 1996. Worked as an executive host in our property here at Mohegan Sun. Made my way through the ranks after 12 years. Ended up being the vice president of marketing before I was elected in 2005. So I've been on the board now since 2005. I've held the corresponding secretary position. I was the vice chair for a number of years, and within the last year and a half, close to 2 years, I've been actually the chairman. So, plenty of gaming experience and learned a lot about the industry working here at our beautiful property, and just look forward to obviously expanding into, Nevada, and that's about it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Gessner. So you've been with the Mohegan tribe for about 20 years, is that correct?
Well, I've been a tribal member all my life, but I moved, moved here from Louisiana for a little over 20 years.
My apologies for not making the
That's
distinction.
okay.
I meant with, well, our notes say about May of 2000, that's when you became an executive host with the
Right.
Mohegan Tribe of Indians, so, okay. I didn't have any concerns with your personal background or your financial background. Either board members have any questions for Mr. Gessner? Chairman Gessner.
I did not.
Thank you. Mr. Contamaricos, I know you've kind of already given an overview, but of the property, but if you could tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Thank you for the opportunity, Chairwoman. I've just passed my 9th anniversary at Mohegan, heading into a full decade here. I've been in this position of president and CEO for the last 3 years. Prior to that, I was the chief financial officer of the company for approximately 6 years. Prior to that, for slightly less than 2 years, I was at Penn National Gaming as a vice president of corporate finance. And then prior to that, I had spent approximately a decade in various capacities on Wall Street, almost entirely covering the gaming and lodging and leisure industries. So I've sort of grown up with gaming my entire professional career. I'm a graduate of Cornell University, and in fact, I grew up in Connecticut. So coming back to Mohegan was like coming back home.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Contamaricos? Member
I do.
Kazera?
I do. And I reserve the right to ask questions on the corporate side, and I just remembered one of them. Mr. Contamaricos, again, thank you for being here. I failed to ask you about the developments going on in Athens, Greece.
How much time do you have? No, we are in an evaluation process as we speak. There's a 3-step process to this evaluation process. We are now on the 3rd step. The evaluation committee for this integrated resort in the Glifada section of Athens, which is on a beautiful site at the site of the old airport there, overlooking the Mediterranean, is now in its final stages. We are the only applicant left. Our team did an incredible job putting together what was probably the most technically detailed application that we've ever encountered, and we did it flawlessly. And because of that, we are the last competitor standing in this evaluation, and therefore we expect that over the next 10 to 15 days that we are going to be named the provisional contractor for the integrated resort license for this property in Athens. And it will be nothing short of what you're used to from the Mohegan Tribe of Indians of Connecticut. This will be a fantastic property. It'll be an iconic property that is intended to change the face of that that city from an entertainment perspective. So it's an extremely exciting project for us.
And then what would that process look like in terms of a shovel in the ground? I mean, is that a 12-month process, 24-month process?
I think the range that you've outlined is probably accurate. Between the time where we go from provisional contractor to final contractor, and then from the time that we go from final contractor to shovel in the ground is probably in that range of time.
Okay. And you mentioned Glyfada. If you've been there, obviously you've been there. It's a beautiful beach. It's just is the old airport just a few miles north of there?
It is literally in the same neighborhood.
Oh,
Yeah, the old airport covers a couple of different towns, crosses over a couple of different municipalities there, and Glyfada is one of them.
okay. And what, it's an hour drive perhaps from what, Eleftherios, the Venizelos?
Yeah, and in times of lower traffic, it's even less. It's about half an hour.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for that. I failed to ask about that earlier, and I wanted to ask you about it because I had seen that you guys had been selected as the RFP sort of winner. As far as your background, I didn't have any questions, didn't see even a hiccup there. I did note that you have an affinity for olives, it seems, but other than that, I didn't have any. If you want to share something about that, that'd be great. But other than that, I didn't have any questions.
All I can say is that Tracy Wilson will tell you that I have an affinity for almonds, but only if they're Mediterranean almonds. Almonds from the U.S. don't cut it.
All right, thank you for that.
Right. Well, I neglected to ask this, but Mr. Contamarco, since can you or maybe Mr. Rubenstein actually give an update on, I know there's some legislative action that's pending in Connecticut, potentially also involving litigation with the Manshantucket, I'm going to mispronounce Pocot tribe regarding the Tribal Winds Casino. Is there an update that you can give us on that?
Mr. Smock, who I mentioned earlier, would be able to speak to that.
Thank you, Chairwoman Morgan. We're talking about a case regarding a potential casino development in East Windsor, Connecticut, I believe. And that is a situation that is currently in active litigation. The site is next to the border of Massachusetts and Connecticut, and next to the city of Springfield, Massachusetts, where Nevada licensee MGM Resort operates a casino. The Mohegan tribe and the state of Connecticut entered into an agreement to amend our tribe's compact with the state with regard to a proposed off-reservation casino in East Windsor, and that would be jointly owned between the Mohegans and our competitor, a tribe located about 7 miles from where we sit, the Mashantucket tribe, or the Foxwood Casino, as they're commonly known. In 2017, that agreement, together with the similar agreement that the Mashantucket tribe reached with the state of Connecticut, were submitted to the U.S. Secretary of Interior for approval under the Gaming Regulatory Act. And the Secretary did not approve those agreements, just let them sit. There was litigation with regard to that, and ultimately the agreements were approved by the Secretary of Interior. MGM has appealed that. Okay. And we have moved to intervene into that lawsuit, and recently a court order allowed both the state of Connecticut and Foxwood, or the Mashantucket tribe, and Mohegan to intervene in that lawsuit, and that is an active case.
Okay, thank you. And now that I can see you on the small screen, I recall meeting you in 2019. So it's good to see you again. There was a reference to potential legislative action. Is that accurate? Is the state contemplating any legislative action that could potentially have an effect on the litigation? And if you're not able to say publicly, that's fine. But I'm just curious if our notes were accurate.
The safe answer is nothing active would be a safe answer.
All right. Any questions based on that? All right. Well, moving on then, Member Johnson, I'm sorry, did you have any questions for Mr. Contamarcos?
No, no, I did not.
All right, moving on to Mr. Marks Rosa.
Good morning, Madam Chairman. My name is Mark Rosa. I hold the position of Senior Vice President and Chief Information Officer for Mohegan Gaming and Entertainment. I've been in the role since January officially, and prior to that, I had the luxury and privilege of serving the Mohegan Tribe as the Chief Audit Executive for approximately 3 years. Prior to that, I worked for Houghton Mifflin Harcourt, which was a textbook publishing company, a K-12 provider of educational materials, and I was their head of internal audit for approximately 4 years. And prior to that, Staples, I held a multitude of positions, one being audit and another being director of finance for their shared services organization. And prior to that, I had started my career with Deloitte as an enterprise consultant. So that's my background. I'm born and raised in Massachusetts. Still reside there today and commute into Connecticut, and look forward to working with all of you.
Thank you, Mr. Rosa. I don't have any questions for you. Does either board members have any questions? Member Caceres has one.
Hello, Mr. Rosa. So the IT department in Las Vegas, will somebody there have a direct reporting line to you or an indirect reporting line to you?
At the moment, the way we've designed the organization is through a shared services agreement that will be held between Mr. Hassan and the JC Hospitality organization. So those resources will all be represented by JC Hospitality and working on our behalf.
That's okay. He did mention that. Okay, so you won't have anybody directly reporting to you at the property then that is employed directly by Mohegan.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you for that. I didn't have anything else for Morgan.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Rosa. All right, we'll move on to Miss Sarah Harris. Good morning or afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon. Yes, good afternoon, Chairwoman Morgan and members of the board. My name is Sarah Harris. So a little on my background, I was born and raised in Connecticut. My father was actually the tribal chairman of our tribe for some period of time when I was growing up. Left and went to Dartmouth College. I majored in Native American Studies. And then after that, I went to DC for law school. After graduating law school, I spent probably about 6 years at 2 different law firms in DC. The first, a boutique firm doing just Indian law, and then touched on gaming law. But the second firm that I worked for was probably a medium-sized firm, and I worked in their gaming law division. And they were trying to integrate a Native American component to that. So there I did, I worked on some Michigan lottery stuff. I did a lot of management contract drafting, working with the National Indian Gaming Commission and then our tribal and non-tribal clients to draft management contracts and some transactional things related to that. I then went on to work for the Obama administration. So at first I took a job working as the sort of Indian advisor, senior Indian counsel to the solicitor, which is the general counsel for Department of Interior, and then moved on to receive a political appointment by the administration and was the chief of staff for the Assistant Secretary for Indian Affairs, where I stayed for in that position for about 3 years till the end of the administration. And then I had twins and then moved home. So I'm back here. I've been on council now, going into my 4th year. This is my first term. And this last October had the honor of having my colleagues on the tribal council appoint me as the vice chairwoman for the tribe. So I think that's pretty much brings you up to date on me, but thank you again. It's a pleasure to be here with you today and for all the time that your staff has put into all of this. You know, I know how many documents I've had to produce, so I can imagine that they've had to look through just as many, if not many more for mine alone. So thank you. And we look forward to being the first tribe that, you know, hopefully will be licensed to run a casino in Vegas. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Harris. You certainly have a very decorated professional career, both in the private sector and at firms, and obviously with your commitment to service as well, not only to your tribe, but to our country. So thank you for that. I did not have any questions for you. Did either board member have any questions for Vice Chair Harris?
I didn't have any questions either. Just wanted to say thank you, Ms. Harris.
Great, thank you so much.
All right, moving on to Thane Hutchins Jr.
Good morning. Thane Hutchins. I grew up in Connecticut also my whole life here. I went to Eastern Connecticut State University and majored in economics. As I got to the end of my time in school, I interned in finance for the tribe, and I spent about 6 years. That turned into a full-time job. Spent about 6 years in finance. Got elected to the tribal council in 2007. Became treasurer in 2009, and I'm still here.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hutchins Jr. Likewise with the other personal and financial investigations we reviewed, it was very clean. I don't have any questions for you. Either members have any questions for Mr. Hutchins?
I didn't have any questions either. Very clean. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Soper.
Hey, no worries. Sorry, was on mute. Yeah, so prior to being elected and coming onto the board, which is officially a year ago to the day, I actually served for about 15 years down at Mohegan Sun in the sports and entertainment area. Actually, I started out as a financial analyst, worked up through the ranks, all the way up to basically number 2 in the department, just behind casino entertainment legend Tom Cantone. I worked with him for the last decade, helping to bring home a lot of those national awards that we won. And then I did transition over to the corporate side, where I helped program entertainment opportunities for all of our properties. So that's pretty much my background.
Okay, let's see. All right, I did not have any questions for you, Mr. Soper. Did either board member have any questions for Mr. Soper?
Nope,
They are shaking their heads in the negative, so thank you. Let's keep with this good trend here of, of clean applicants. Miss Reagan Pine. Good morning.
Morning. Good morning, Ms. Chairman and members of the board. Thank you. It's an honor and privilege to be here today. A little bit about my background. I was born and raised in Connecticut, went to as well Eastern Connecticut State University here. After that, lived in Europe for a short period of time. And then most of my career prior to working for our tribe was in the insurance and financial services industry with Cigna Property and Casualty and Lincoln Financial Group in Hartford. Later, I've always wanted to work for our tribe, and an opportunity came up back down in 2006. So I started working and helping our tribal citizens with their career development, so to speak, their schooling and their positions and their lives. So that's how I began my work for our tribe. In 2009, I was elected to the tribal council, and I'm presently in my 3rd term, serving as the, started serving as the corresponding secretary, and now I am the recording secretary for the tribe.
And are most, this is more, not a question specific to you, but are most members have dual roles on the council and on the management board, or does it depend on the position?
Yes, all members of the tribal council, we have dual roles, both as management. We are the management board for Mohegan Gaming, as well as we manage and we are the entire governance of our tribe, the entire government services and politically. So we definitely have dual roles.
And I noticed that you're on the compliance committee.
I am.
And is your compliance committee or the requirements, do you have a different program or expectations for the properties that you operate on tribal land versus non-tribal land?
I would say that they are as stringent as any, our tribal, and one of the reasons actually that I wanted to be part of the compliance committee was it was such a big part of my role when I worked in insurance and financial services. It was our life. And so it was always a big part of what I did in my role there. And I wanted to be a part of that here. But I can assure you that we have the as strict or stringent on our reservation as we do with any of our properties. And I could have Mark, if you wanted to, give more details on that.
No, that's fine, Ms. Regan.
Okay.
Thank you. I just noticed that you're on the compliance committee, so I wanted to ask. I don't have any
something I enjoy.
And you definitely have the background for it. So either board member have any questions for Ms. Regan Pine?
I had one question. Ms. Regan Pine, you are an outside director on the Black Wolves Foundation. What exactly is that?
So we have two sports teams. One, as Mario mentioned earlier, is the Connecticut Sun in the WNBA. And the other is the Black Wolves, which is part of the National Lacrosse League. So we have foundations for both that are very similar. So I am on the board of both, where we raise funds for outside charities, outside organizations. Right now with the Connecticut Sun Foundation, we've been working on social justice platform with our team, where the foundation has supported that. So it's the Black Wolves is probably less known. It's a more regional team than the Connecticut Sun, which we won't again mention the Las Vegas Aces.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, let's move on to Mr. John Jerry Harris.
Yep. Hi, how are you?
Hey, John.
I grew up locally. I was elected to the tribal council and the board about a year ago. My background is I spent 35 years working for Pfizer Incorporated in research and development. I also spent 25 years on the MTHA, the Mohegan Tribal Housing Authority, which I had the opportunity to participate in being able to build Fort Hill Community, which is our eldest community assisted living, with funding that was generated through the businesses that we've owned. I did take a job after retiring from Pfizer in 2012 and spent 6 years as a casino ground supervisor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Harris. And yeah, I noted that you served on the Tribal Housing Authority as member and chairman for quite some time, as you mentioned. And then you also served as member and chair for the Preston Housing Authority. Is that a nearby city?
The town in which I reside.
Okay.
The volunteer position.
Well, good to see that you're actively involved, obviously, in your tribe and your community. I don't have any questions for you. Either board members have any questions for Mr. Harris? Okay. Ms. LaPierre. Ms. LaPierre, if you could unmute.
That would be helpful. My name is Pat LaPierre. I grew up in Rhode Island and lived most of my life there. Came to Connecticut about 18 years ago. Started working at the casino about the same time, 18 years ago. And started out in human resources and worked my way up the ranks to vice president of human resources. While I was VP for the past 4 years, I was on the executive committee and was very involved in all operations of the business. So I felt pretty comfortable with that. Knowing how, it's not just human resources. We've got a whole big, a little city over there. So I graduated from Providence College and the University of Phoenix with a master's degree in organizational management. I have 2 adult children and 7 grandchildren.
All right, thank you for giving us a little snapshot of you and your life, and obviously your background in HR. would bode well based on some of the accolades that Mohegan Gaming has kind of received with respect to their employees. I don't have any questions about your background or your financial background, and I don't believe either of the board members do either. So thank you for your time. Mr. Quidgen.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is William Quidgen Jr. I'm a direct descendant of the Tantaquidgen Mohegan family. I lived in upstate New York for many years, worked for Amtrak for about 14 and a half years, moved to Connecticut in 1996. Prior to the casino opening, I was involved in the engineering department. I was a manager down there overseeing all the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing equipment in the facility. After that position, I took a position as senior project manager of development when we started to build phase 2, this beautiful facility that we have here. Represented the tribe in the development department, then was elected as tribal council in 2005, and I've been on the tribal council ever since 2005 until the present day. Also, during that time, I've sat a lot on a lot of boards as far as trying to diversify the tribe into other businesses also, other than just gaming.
All right. Thank you very much. I don't have any questions for you, and I don't see either board member motioning them, so thank you very much. I think we know Mr. Hassan pretty well, but I don't know if you wanted to share. I'm looking at your most recently licensed last year, and oh no, I should say that you left a company, I think your prior company, in February of 2019, but the board is very familiar with you, but I did want to give either board member an opportunity to ask you any questions. And I'm not seeing that either. So, Mr. Rubenstein, do you have any closing comments?
No, we do not. As I mentioned.
Mr. Rubenstein, you're on mute.
How many times am I going to do that? As I mentioned earlier, we're very comfortable with the draft order of registration #1 and with the proposed conditions. So we have nothing further to add other than, again, to thank board staff, especially during the pandemic, for sticking with us and helping bring this to a timely conclusion.
I really thank you for your kind words about the investigation staff. You know, since March, we have been doing this remotely. It's been difficult, and we thought we would be back in the building, honestly, probably at least by July. So I really appreciate you thanking them for their hard work, and on so many agents working on this and being able to work together on it. I appreciate you thanking them, and I know that the board thanks them as well. So with that, we have some withdrawals first. And so I would entertain a motion to withdraw the applications, or entertain one.
All right, Mr. Rubenstein, just for purposes of the record, the withdrawals that are before us, I believe there are 4 individuals, Mrs. Silberling, Kelly, Block, and Brown, all of whom have since left the organization, and that's the reason for the withdrawals?
With 3 of them, it's the reason. With Mr. Block, his duties were reassigned to focus on the international operations. And so he's no longer in the operating chain of command for this property.
Okay, and then there was an entity that was to be withdrawn, or no? Mohegan Gaming Advisors, LLC?
Yes, shortly after we filed the application, we switched holding companies. So Mohegan MGNV Holding was created to become the holding company for this particular entity. And so MGNV was moved from advisors to holding.
Okay, and the 2 applications for Mr. Gesner and Contamercos related to that prior holding company are no longer necessary as a result.
That's correct.
All right. Right. So with regards to non-restricted item number 1, I would move to grant the approval of the request to withdraw the applications as read into the record by Madam Secretary, and as to each, that would be without prejudice.
Member Katsaros?
Aye.
Member Johnson?
Aye.
Chairwoman Morgan.
Aye.
All right. As to the balance of non-restricted, item number 1, I would move for approval pursuant to draft number 1 of the order of registration dated September 11th, 2020, and pursuant to the following conditions. Prior to the commencement of operations, the attestation letter regarding the internal control system must be received by the Nevada Gaming Control Board Audit Division pursuant to Nevada Gaming Commission Regulation 6.090. Second, the surveillance system and/or mirrors must be inspected and approved by the Nevada Gaming Control Board Enforcement Division within 60 days of issuance of the state gaming license and thereafter be maintained at or above the standard that is approved. Third, the manufacturer's license is limited to the modification of machines that are or have been utilized in the operations of the licensed location or its affiliated companies, and that any such modification shall be limited to operational configuration changes such as replacement of one pre-approved component with another pre-approved component or modifications that will not affect the manner or mode of play of the device. Fourth, the distributor's license is limited to the acquisition of machines to be utilized in or the distribution of machines which have been utilized in the operations of the licensed location or its affiliated companies. And fifth and finally, a key employee application for the position of general manager must be filed within 60 days of any changes in the person occupying that position.
Member Katsouros.
Aye.
Member Johnson.
Aye.
Chairwoman Morgan.
Aye. Congratulations.
Thank you. We really appreciate everything that's transpired and look forward to appearing at the commission later this month. Thank you.
All right, wonderful. And we look forward to meeting you all in person someday. At this time, let's go ahead and take a 5-minute recess before we move on to non-restricted item number 2. Item number 2.
Non-restricted number 2 is the application of Richard Paul Hallman for a finding of suitability as an officer of Every Holdings, Inc.
All right, let's give Mr. Hallman an opportunity to join us. He's logging in now. Good morning, Ms. Okerberg.
Good morning, Chair Morgan, Member Johnson, Member Katsouros. For the record, Erica Okerberg, I'm outside gaming counsel to the company. And here with me separately via video is the applicant, Rich Hallman. Before turning to him, I would like to briefly address one point related to the timing of his application. And that is that Mr. Hallman did not file an application as the CIO of the public company, Every Holdings, within 30 days. He was appointed on July 18, 2016. However, Mr. Hallman did timely apply. He just applied and was licensed for the wrong entity, Every Payments, Inc. This was an inadvertent mistake from the internal licensing department under prior legal and compliance leadership. And as the board may recall from prior discussions last month, the company recently underwent an exhaustive review of its officers, directors, and key employees for all of its Nevada entities, and this was discovered as part of that. This should be the final cleanup as a result of that review. And now, if acceptable, I would like to turn it over to Mr. Hallman, allow him to address this, and then answer any questions you may have for him.
Thank you, Ms. Okerberg, for referencing that we had this discussion last month. Appreciate it. And I know Mr. Hallman is not is known to the board. Good morning, Mr. Hallman.
Good morning, Chair Morgan and Member Johnson and Member Katsouros. I'm Rich Hallman, Executive Vice President, Chief Information Officer of Every Holdings. Again, I apologize for the mistake regarding the entity and the position of the original application. I understand that filing obligations obviously are responsibility of the individual licensee, and I'll make sure that we work to avoid any similar issues in the future. Although I previously shared some of my background during my initial licensing hearing in May of 2018, for the sake of the record, I wanted to provide a brief overview again of my background, job duties, and responsibilities. Been in technology industry for 25 years or over 25 years now. Some of my past positions included being in the Nevada Air National Guard, which is I'm currently retired from. Also is holding senior executive positions within Intuit. So I was at Intuit for about 7 years. also in the technology field. And then also employers insurance. I was the chief information officer for that organization, which is up in Reno, and also as a CIO there. And then also currently as Every Holdings today as their chief information officer as of 2016. The current position, I'm responsible for technology infrastructure, a lot of security. I know you've talked security in your previous previous session, and also the corporate information technology systems. So this includes a lot of the data center hosting facilities, a lot of the network infrastructure, not only internally, but also connectivity into a lot of our properties that we maintain, a lot of our payment processing systems, our IT help desk, service desk, data protection, as well as any company compliance, regulatory certifications that are required by the company. Examples would be GDPR, PCI, which is payment card industry certifications, and then also our Sarbanes-Oxley certifications relating to anything to data, customer information handling, and any storage of that data and PII data of our customers. I know Harper Coe is our general counsel, and she'll be providing a general company update, the next agenda item. However, I'm happy to answer any other questions that you may have for me.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Hallman, for your service. Looks like you've served in the Air Force, the Air National Guard for over 30 years. I was just curious, I know you just mentioned Ms. Coe will give an update for our next item number 3, but do you have any trends or anything that you'd be willing to share that you think could be coming to Nevada to kind of help us and different operators and suppliers like yourself or manufacturers become more secure as people are relying on their phones and devices, not only for everyday life, but obviously for gaming as well?
Yeah, I know that, one of the big things that have changed obviously through the industry, I think all of our industries over the last, since March through the pandemic, is really the remote workforce. How you stay, how you build that collaboration, how do you keep employees, engaged within the organization, what technology is out there. I believe Zoom is a great technology. We as an organization, we use Teams, which very much integrates a lot of our email and the collaboration, the ability to bring teams together and organizations and employees together. With that comes a lot of security issues and a lot of security concerns. And within the last 60 days, there's been a very increase in a lot of cyber attack ransomware that's coming out of China. Very sophisticated, very complex. Some of our customer properties have been hit, but also not only within the gaming industry and clearly within the healthcare industry has been hit as well. So I know that one of the areas that we're looking at is constantly looking to make sure that we have the right systems, the right processes in place to be able to detect any early issues that might be happening, or any early trends from security that's happening.
Since you referenced the kind of increase in ransomware and cybersecurity attacks, is it your opinion, and I know we're not talking about any specific attack, whether it be publicly reported or not, but it's not necessarily a matter of those businesses or entities not complying with kind of universal standards or even baseline standards with regard to cybersecurity or privacy or IT requirements. It's just that these attacks are becoming more and more sophisticated. Would you agree?
Yes, and I believe the majority of these really come from employee awareness, individual awareness, and training around when you get certain links, and these links look very, very authentic, and they ask you to log in. And so once you log in, you give them their credentials, and there's some very interesting techniques that they go through to try to social engineer positions, social engineer financial positions and reporting structures. And it becomes very, very difficult. And the technology is becoming very difficult to be able to track that. But it really comes down to, employee individual awareness around what the issues are, what to look for, what looks suspect or what doesn't look suspect. And we try to make sure that we have an active, monthly campaign that goes out, quarterly campaigns. We talk to our board about, a lot of the initiatives that we're doing. And this is not static. It's something that changes every day and every hour. And unfortunately, we're always, probably one step behind the bad guys that are out there. But I think through a lot of the awareness and again, training, I think it really helps, helps mitigate a lot of the risks that are out there today.
Thank you, Mr. Hellman. I think we all have an urgency or tendency to want to click on everything and open things in kind of the 24-hour environment they're all in. But I appreciate your insight on that. Either board member have any questions for Mr. Hellman or Ms. Okerberg?
I didn't have any questions. I just want to say thank you, Ms. Okerberg, for getting out in front and bringing that up, as well as you, Mr. Hallman. Other than that, your background seems very clean to me. Again, and thank you as well for your service at the Nevada Air National Guard.
Thank you.
All right, I will entertain a motion for approval.
All right, I'll move for approval of non-restricted item number 2 as read into the record by Madam Secretary.
Member Katsaros.
Aye.
Member Johnson.
Aye.
Chairwoman Morgan.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Secretary, please read in non-restricted item number 3.
Non-restricted number 3 are the applications of Every Holdings, Inc. for an amendment to their order of registration and the applications of Every Payments, Inc. for licensure as a manufacturer and distributor.
All right, Ms. Okerberg.
Again, good morning, Chair Morgan, Member Johnson, Member Katsaros, Erica Okerberg, outside gaming counsel for the company. With me via video for this item are Darren Simmons, the EVP Fintech Business Leader, Harper Coe, EVP CLO and General Counsel, James Oatman, SVP of Product Compliance, and Omar Corey, SVP of Regulatory Compliance. By way of just a brief introduction, although Every Games Inc. currently holds a manufacturer and distributor license, that arm of the business is focused primarily on gaming devices and machines. So we're before you today seeking manufacturer and distributor licenses for a sister entity, Every Payments Inc., which is the fintech side of the business. We do note that the licenses would be limited to cashless wagering systems. We have reviewed the condition related to that, and we don't have any concerns or comments. And then also I would note that we reviewed the draft 8th revised order of registration, and we think that is in proper form. If it's acceptable, I would like to turn it over to Ms. Coe to first provide a brief company update. And then I would like Mr. Simmons to provide some more details about the company's proposed plans for these licenses.
Great. Thank you. Good morning, Ms. Coe.
Good morning, Chair Morgan, Member Johnson, Member Katsaros. Thank you for your time today. I'm Harper Coe, the General Counsel Chief Legal Officer at Every. I just thought I'd take a little bit of time to give you a brief update of the status of our company in general. As was reported in our last quarterly report, Every, as with most companies, was caught somewhat flat-footed when the COVID pandemic hit. Our business continuity planning never contemplated a complete shutdown of the industry in all regions. In those first weeks, our board and executive management had to come together quickly and decisively to make some hard choices, including, to preserve liquidity, we immediately executed a large-scale furlough, as well as significant pay cuts for all remaining employees, with our executive team reduced by over 70% and our CEO and our board taking 100% pay cuts. Then, to ensure liquidity, to continue operations, we drew down our revolver, we amended our existing credit facility, and then executed a new term loan. These actions gave us enough breathing space to continue to provide benefits to our furloughed employees, as well as set up an employee disaster relief fund. And then we also, based on the protracted nature of the pandemic, although we couldn't avoid permanent layoffs, our early actions did help us mitigate that and keep them to a minimum. And we've subsequently been able to bring, I think, all at this point of our remaining furloughed employees back, and returned most of the employees, the non-executive employees, to full salary. In addition, the pandemic has accelerated the timeline of many cashless and contactless products that were already in our development queue. They're the same cashless and contactless products that our operators are now asking for to mitigate the COVID impact and allow them to continue operations. Moving forward, the company is well positioned to consider cashless funding and other solutions to accommodate the new operating environment. We've been fortunate in our recovery in that our products and services are performing well. Our active gaming units are performing at levels comparable to our pre-pandemic levels. And the volume of cash access transactions are on average only moderately below the prior year. Notwithstanding the ongoing uncertainty, our company expects to generate positive adjusted EBITDA in Q3. I'm available to answer any additional questions that the board may have and the members.
Sure. Ms.
Otherwise,
yeah. Okay, I had a couple questions.
Sure.
I know that it's been said many, many times a lot, especially with our operators that have regional properties, that those markets are rebounding. I'm assuming you're seeing the same on the manufacturer side as well, with the services you provide to other regional operations kind of getting at or maybe even above in some cases numbers for 2019.
Yeah, that is correct. For the most part, we are a supplier to those regions. So to the extent that the operators are reporting better numbers in the regions versus the destination areas, that is true. We're seeing consistent data.
For the U.S., your executive offices and financial systems manufacturing facility is actually in Las Vegas, but you have other sales offices all throughout the nation, right?
We have a development studio on the game side in Chicago, and then obviously our games manufacturing and development is in Austin. We don't have additional sales offices per se. We do have another, I guess for us, a larger office in Reno. That is also a development facility. And then we also have warehousing in like Oklahoma, but we don't have separate sales offices.
What percentage of reduction in force would you, if you could, kind of estimate for Nevada, both the Reno and Vegas offices?
I wouldn't know off the top of my head. I think that our Nevada footprint, because we are primarily fintech, and the fintech contactless solutions have been, something that our customers have been asking for. I'm not sure exactly, but I think that the impact was a little bit less on the fintech side than it would have been on the game side.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any general company questions for Ms. Coe from either board member? All right. Mr. Simmons, you had an update with some of the technology that may be deployed here soon?
Yeah, good morning. Thank you, Erica. Thank you, Harper. Again, good morning, Chair Morgan, Member Johnson, and Member Katsaros. Again, I'm Darren Simmons. We are here today seeking a manufacturer distributor license for Every Payments to allow it to create and offer to Nevada licensees cashless wagering systems. As the board knows, Every Payments has multiple different financial products, and for years, Every Payments has offered a system which streamlines electronic payment transactions on a licensee's existing desktop PC cage equipment. This system is offered under the Cash Club brand. Every Payments now would like to bring to Nevada for review and approval its Cash Club Concierge product. Concierge is a mobile version of the in-cage Cash Club system for the purpose of supporting point-of-sale debit transactions. Concierge uses the Cash Club application, and it moves it from the cage desktop to a mobile device to allow operators flexibility to use Cash Club outside of the cage. As of today, we are in the final stages of development and expect that to be completed next month. And we would anticipate having that product ready to submit to the lab in December, and likely a field trial in Q1. So I'm happy to answer any questions about that or plans for any of our products.
Great, thank you for that update. Any questions for Mr. Simmons?
Just to follow up on the tech. So for your Cash Club, your cashless voucher system won't integrate then with the existing host ticketing system, correct? As you mentioned.
Correct. Yes.
Is there a plan to do that at some point?
It is on a roadmap, but not this initial version.
Is it accurate to state that it's simpler, obviously, to take this first step and to then put that next step on the roadmap? Is this sort of the progression?
Yes, that's a fair statement. Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Simmons. Any other comments, Ms. Zuckerberg, from any members of the Every team?
No, thank you very much, Chair Morgan.
And thanks for confirming that you've already reviewed the 8th revised order of registration and don't have any concerns, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. I will entertain a motion.
Let's move for approval of non-restricted item number 3 as read into the record by Madam Secretary pursuant to that 8th revised order of registration dated August 21st, 2020, as well as the following condition. Manufacturer and distributor licenses are limited to cashless wagering systems only.
Member Katsaros?
Aye.
Member Johnson?
Aye.
Chairwoman Morgan?
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Secretary, please read a non-restricted item number 4.
Non-restricted number 4 are the applications of Gary Richard Selesner for licensure as a key executive of Parball Newco LLC, PHWLV LLC, Corner Investment Company LLC, Flamingo Las Vegas Operating Company LLC, 3535 LV Newco LLC, Cromwell Manager LLC, Flamingo SERP Manager LLC, and the Quad Manager LLC.
Good morning,
Good morning.
Madam Chair, Member Johnson, Member Katsaros. I was just waiting to make sure I saw Mr. Selesner on, and I hope he is. I'm not sure if he is, though.
He is off mute.
Oh, good. There you go.
Right now. Yeah.
Sorry about that. No worries. Here with me is Mr. Gary Selesner. Mr. Selesner's been in the casino industry, involved with Caesars since at least 2001. He's here today before you to be licensed as a key executive. His role as regional president for Caesars and the properties that you see on the agenda. As always, Madam Chair, Mr. Selesner is prepared to give you a background history of himself if you would like.
All right. Good morning, Mr. Selesner. Nice to see you.
Good morning, Chairwoman Morgan. Nice to see you again, too.
So obviously you're no stranger to the board, but I know that you have recently increased not only responsibilities, but properties as well. So why don't you just tell us now what your new role is and what properties you'll be responsible for?
Yes, thank you, and good morning. Good morning to the other members as well. And I'm honored to be here today and to have you hear my application to be relicensed. Yeah, essentially, as you know, there's been great change to the company. It's been acquired, and there's been lots of movement. Long story short, I'm very fortunate. I've been working for the company for quite a long time, and so my responsibilities now will be regional president over all of the Las Vegas properties at this time, and I'm blessed with a tremendous management team, each of the properties, and great employees, many long tenured. So looking forward, with license to manage these properties with the integrity and the performance that you expect.
All right, thank you, Mr. Selesner. So I've reviewed your personal background and your financial investigation. Just for the record, you last appeared before the commission about 3 years ago in 2017. Last full investigation was in 2011. I didn't see any issues or concerns. Your sound was a little bit in and out, so I'm just going to restate. Regional president for Bally's, Planet Hollywood, Link, Quad Manager, Cromwell, and Flamingo. Did I miss any properties?
Yes, those as well as the ones I've been involved with in the past.
Right. The ones that you've currently been licensed for.
Yes.
I know that there's been plans to talk about Planet Hollywood. Anything you can share with us?
Yes, we're very pleased to be opening Planet Hollywood tomorrow at about 10 a.m., which will leave only the Rio and Cromwell not open at this point. We've been very careful about opening the properties, wanting to make sure that they perform well, and that obviously we can manage to the COVID crisis, which I think you're familiar with our performance in that respect. So very excited to open Planet Hollywood and hopefully the other properties in the near
It's been pretty public that the state and the governor have kind of allowed larger meetings to now begin at least to be held. Any insight you can give us? Do you have any traction or kind of customers wanting to come back and hold meetings at any Caesars properties yet?
Oh yes. So first of all, we want to thank the governor and his whole team and the county chairwoman and yourself and the others who worked on this initiative to allow the casinos to now begin the reopening of meetings and also entertainment. And as you well know, meetings are very important to the industry. Since we've reopened, the weekends have been particularly strong, and midweek has been weak. And so this will allow us to get started back in that business. I guess, you know, the good news is we still have many conventions and meetings on the books from, I would say, late January and February. There's been some movement prior to the announcement of these groups moving back later in the year, but by and large, we have many of these groups in place. So we're really looking forward to getting that part of the business started as carefully as possible so we can protect everybody's safety. As you're probably aware, the entertainment portion of this, we're still being very careful to understand exactly what the restrictions will be in these venues. We have plans in the near term just to open a few, which we know will fit the different requirements, including the 25-foot distance between audience and performer. And we have others where that particular aspect is a little bit more problematic. So of course we won't open, and we want to be very careful about this. But I expect in time we'll be able to get back into that business, first with small shows, and then later, hopefully, with increases in the limits, be able to get back into big shows. But that'll probably be next year.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Selesner. Do board members have any questions? All right, Member Katsaros.
Good afternoon, Mr. Selesner. Or I should say it's still morning. Feels like afternoon. I did want to talk a little bit about the demand then. So Planet Hollywood's going to be open. That will leave Rio and Cromwell, the only two that aren't. Of all the properties that are open, including the Planet Hollywood that will be, are all the hotel towers open as well, or have you guys closed any of those?
Two of them. With Planet Hollywood, two of them, Link and Planet Hollywood, the hotels will be open, but only 4 days a week, Thursday through Sunday, initially. And then as there is a little bit more demand to spread out, then we would open those hotels. But the rest of them, hotels are open. And just to give you an idea of occupancies, in the weekends, we're able to get well into the 90% occupancies at all these properties, but without conventions, it's tough to get there. We've been in the 50s, sometimes the 60s, depending on the properties. So leaving a couple of hotels closed a couple of days a week is beneficial for the whole organization.
Right. Okay. So just for clarity, Planet Hollywood and Link, those two hotels close midweek, open on the weekends though.
Yeah.
All
3 days a week.
All the other towers are open 24/7.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then you did address the other question, which was the demand on the weekend. So we're getting pretty strong numbers, 90 plus, given the fact too, without conventions being held. Those are the points I wanted to cover. So thank you. I didn't have any questions or concerns on your background. Seems you've been before this board numerous times, most recently 3 years ago. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Burnett, any closing comments?
Madam Chair, thank you. No, we would just like to thank Caitlin Osborne, the agent that worked with Mr. Selesner. She was a pleasure for both of us to work with, and we want to commend her.
You can probably color in the state of Nevada in that map you have behind you. All right, I will entertain a motion.
Let's see. I'll move for approval of non-restricted item number 4 as read into the record by Madam Secretary.
Member Katsaros?
Aye.
Member Johnson?
Aye.
Chairwoman Morgan?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Madam
very
Sec-
much. I appreciate this.
Bye-bye.
Madam Secretary, please read in non-restricted item number 5.
Non-restricted number 5 is the application of Sarah Ann Rogers for licensure as a key executive of the Mirage Casino Hotel LLC and Newcastle LLC.
All right. Can you hear me?
Good morning, Mr. McGinnis. Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Oh, good morning, Chair Morgan, Member Johnson, Member Katsaros, Madam Secretary. For the record, Sean McGinnis of Butler Snow on behalf of MGM Resorts International. With me, I believe I don't see it on the screen yet. It should be Sarah Rogers.
She's on.
Oh, good. And so what we thought we'd do, if it's okay with you, is just have Sarah provide a short background of how she got to where she is now and sort of her life history for you, if that makes sense.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. McGinnis. Good morning, Ms. Rogers.
Good morning, Chair Morgan, Member Johnson, Member Katsaros, and Madam Secretary. I'm Sarah Rogers, and I'm currently the Senior Vice President and CFO of Mirage and Excalibur for MGM Resorts International. I began my career after graduating from the American University in Paris in 2001 with a degree in international business. At that time, I joined Deutsche Bank in New York and worked in equity research and equity distribution until 2009, at which time I joined MGM Resorts International in investor relations. I spent 6 years in that role and then joined MGM China, living in Macau as the Senior Vice President of Strategy. I spent 3 years in that role and was a member of the team that opened MGM Cotai in 2018. After that, I joined Aria back in Las Vegas as the general manager, and I spent 1 year in that role. At that time, the company was going through a broad management reorganization, and I moved to be the CFO of Bellagio. I spent 1 year in that role until COVID hit this year, and then we again went through a reorganization of the management teams and paired up properties. So around May of this year, I joined Mirage and Excalibur as their CFO. And then maybe most importantly, I've been a Las Vegas resident since 2009. I have 2 young daughters, one of which she was born in January of this year, just before COVID hit. We enjoy spending our free time here in Las Vegas, enjoying the lovely outdoor activities that are available to us. I'd like to thank the Nevada Gaming Control Board and particularly Agent Susie Chang for their thorough and diligent work through this process. That's all.
Thank you, Ms. Rogers. I was on mute because my dog was barking. My apologies. Thank you for that overview. Congratulations on the newest addition to your family, and glad that you've made Las Vegas home for, you said about over a decade now, right? 2009?
Right, yeah.
All right. Well, I had a couple of questions, none about really your background, obviously very clean. I know Mirage opened very recently. Can you tell us how the property's doing?
That's right. So we have 1 month under our belt at Mirage. We opened kind of the end of August. And while I'll say that volumes are challenged, we are performing better than we modeled and expected. And so that is positive. And so we're really focused on, trying to take expenses down when we have slow periods and then maximize profitability when there are busier periods, particularly on the weekends.
All right, thank you. And I don't know if you were on when we were talking to Mr. Selesner, but I know that the Mirage definitely has some nice meeting space and entertainment venues. Have you seen any increase in interest of meetings and events there, or Excalibur for that reason?
Yes, I did hear Mr. Selesner. It is difficult, obviously, in this environment, but MGM Resorts International recently launched a program about, convening comfortably and having rapid testing available. And so our sales executives are out trying to promote our space as best as possible to bring in as much, group business as we can, especially now that we can have groups of 250. I think that demand will remain challenged until, likely next year, but we do have some demand coming in, and that's positive.
Thank you, Ms. Rogers. Any questions from either board member for Ms. Rogers?
Ms. Rogers, just to clarify your span of responsibility with regards to both properties. So which positions do you supervise? Are they the same positions at both locations, or are there differences there?
They are the same positions at both locations. So it's a standardized structure. And at both properties, I oversee the director of finance, director of casino finance, the cage, risk management, and workforce management.
Okay. And you spend the bulk of your time at either property or the other?
You know, I try and treat both properties fairly, but I would say that it's probably skewed about 60% of my time at Mirage and 40% at Excalibur.
All right, thank you.
I didn't have any issues, obviously, with your background. Very clean is what the investigative report came back with. But I did know you mentioned you spent some time in France. Do you speak French?
I do, although it's a bit rusty. It's been, you know, nearly 20 years.
And you spent time in Macau, you already mentioned too. And that was the opening. Did you say MGM Cotai?
That's right, MGM Cotai in 2018.
How was that experience for you?
It was really a wonderful experience. You know, being a part of a team that opens a new property, I think anyone would say that that is, you know, a game changer in terms of the experience and sort of the team building that is involved in that, but also doing it in a foreign country. You know, I learned a lot about the Macanese culture and, you know, the Chinese consumer, which was, I think, extremely valuable to my career.
Yeah, that's a great experience out there. Congratulations on your newborn. I didn't have any other questions though.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Rogers. Mr. McGinnis, any closing comments?
I just wanted to echo that, thank Susie Chang for the work that she did on this. She's always very good to work with and is very diligent and professional.
Thank you, Mr. McGinnis. I will entertain a motion for approval.
All right, move for approval of non-restricted item number 5 as read into the record by Madam Secretary.
Member Katsaros?
Aye.
Member Johnson?
Aye.
Chairwoman Morgan?
Aye, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Madam Secretary, please read in non-restricted item number 6.
Non-restricted number 6 are the application of Tamarack Crossing LLC and Silver Bullet of Nevada LLC for transfers of interest, the application of GPEG 1 LLC for issuance of membership interest, and the applications for a finding of suitability as a member for the 10 entities as noted on page 12 of the agenda. Lastly, for board consideration only, you have the applications for registration as a minority equity holder for the 12 entities as noted on pages 13 and 14 of the agenda.
All right, good afternoon, Mr. Gutwald. Is Chair Nylander joining you as well?
Yes, Dennis Nylander should be leading the show. I expect he'll be on shortly.
I see that Mr. Pegram is on, so let's just give a little bit of time. Oh, I think he's in the room with them.
I believe so.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Mr. Nylander.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board, and Madam Secretary. My name is Dennis Nylander with the law firm Kemper Kroll. Also with me is the applicant, Mike Pegram, who is a majority owner and operator of the GPEG entities and Tamarack. Also with us, as you just noted, is Dennis Gutwald appearing from Las Vegas. Dennis and I worked very closely together on this application jointly. And I noted don't know if you want him to note his appearance for the record, or I'll just move on.
But he noted his appearance before I think you joined.
Okay, I was
Thank you.
For a minute there, I apologize. By way of background, what you have before you today are the applications of GPEG and Tamarack and their respective owners for transfers of interest and issuances of securities that will align the interests of 7 non-restricted gaming licenses. And while the title page and agenda seem complicated, they really are not. With your permission, we're prepared to have Seth Carlson provide you and the board with a brief overview of the transaction, and then have Mr. Pegram describe sort of the operational and physical changes that are occurring at the Tamarack property. Mr. Gutwald is then, of course, available to answer any questions regarding the minority interest holders. So basically what this is going to be is an equity swap. And we'll, with your permission, Chair Morgan, we can walk you through how that will occur, and then we'll have Mr. Pager address the board.
Great, Mr. Nylander. I know you mentioned, I couldn't hear the first name that you mentioned, but please proceed with your clients and discussing the nature of this transaction or the transfer.
I'll go ahead and introduce Seth Carlson at this time.
Good morning, Chair Morgan, members of the board, and Madam Secretary. My name is Seth Carlson with Kempfer Kroll, for the record, on behalf of GPEG. Dennis already gave you a preview of what these applications are about, but to give you some background, in addition to its interest in Tamarack, GPEG currently owns and operates 4 casinos in Carson City and Carson Valley. In Carson City, they include Bodine's and Slot World, and in Carson Valley, they include the Carson Valley Inn and Sharky's. GPEG also holds licenses and approvals related to 2 grandfathered licenses for the Horseshoe and Slot World Cabaret in Carson City. Both of those licenses are active but not operational at this time. As Dennis mentioned, what you have before you today is essentially an equity swap. We have strictly transfers of interest and new issuances of securities. There's no cash component to the transaction. Currently, GPEG owns 26.25% of the equity in Tamarack, and GPEG is owned 73.75% by Mr. Pegram and members of his family. The remaining interest in GPEG is held by 4GC, which is made up of various Carano family interests, and Mr. Rick Murdoch. The chart should be in your materials. The remainder of the Tamarack is owned by minority interest holders. These holders do not currently own any interest in GPEG. The minority interest holders have agreed to transfer their interest in Tamarack to GPEG, and in an exchange, they will receive equity in GPEG. The bottom line is Mr. Pegram's group will own a larger share in Tamarack, but a smaller share in GPEG. The Tamarack minority holders will hold a larger share in GPEG, but a smaller share in Tamarack. I'll briefly walk you through the applications as they appear in your agenda. First, with that first application, we are seeking that you approve the transfers of interest from the minority holders to GPEG. The result will be GPEG owning 100% of the Tamarack interests. The second application is for Silver Bullet of Nevada to transfer its interest to GPEG. Currently, Silver Bullet is a holding company for the 4 licenses, as stated on the agenda. The result of this transfer would eliminate the holding company, and GPEG would own these 4 licenses directly. Third, we are asking approval to issue new equity from GPEG to the minority interest holders in recognition of their contributions of their Tamarack interests. Finally, we are asking for approval of the new members of GPEG to be registered as such. None of these members will hold greater than 5% of the equity in GPEG. The end result is the partners of GPEG will still enjoy the benefits of the existing 6 licenses on a diluted basis, but increase their share in the Tamarack property. The Tamarack owners will still enjoy the benefits of the Tamarack property on a diluted basis, but will now enjoy the benefits of the existing 6 licenses held by GPEG. At this point, we'd like to turn it over to Mr. Pegram to give you an update on the Tamarack remodel and his plan for operations.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Pegram.
And members. Imagine the first question you'd want to know is how this came about. And basically what happened here, we did own 26.25% of the Tamarack. The managing member of the Tamarack was ready to retire. They asked me to come in as management, and that's when the talk of mergers began. And hopefully we culminate or bring it to fruition today. We took management over during the COVID shutdown and started an extensive remodel. And still in the process of that. We've overhauled took out a steakhouse, made more casino space, totally remodeled the cafe, new bars. We are now in process of putting in a new steakhouse, another new sports bar, and adding square footage to the casino. So with all of those improvements and rolling management into the GPEG structure, which what this allows us to do is kind of spread the overhead of the 4 casinos into 5. It just made total economic sense for the entity to do what we have done so far, and we look forward to moving forward and being very successful with it.
Thank you, Mr. Pegram. So you mentioned that you removed the old steakhouse to expand your casino floor, but you are placing it in a different area in your property?
Yes. What happened is the configuration of the steakhouse was just flat in the wrong place. So what we did is that would probably be the prime casino spot on the property or for gaming, and it just opened up where it was a bottleneck. It just opened up the entire casino space. So basically we picked up about 5,500 of prime casino space and was able to relocate the steakhouse in non-revenue area of the casino.
Now refresh my recollection, was this, the remodel, was that already taking place prior to March and COVID, or did you decide to remodel after March?
We started the remodel May 1st.
Okay.
So we were in shutdown, so that allowed us to be able to go in with the jackhammers and the backhoes to remove the, so we took advantage of the shutdown is what I guess I was saying. And again, I think that shows that we're very positive that we're going to come out of COVID on the right side of this thing.
Well, glad to hear that you made lemonade out of some lemons that I think a lot of us were dealing with at that time. That's a good update. Any questions for Mr. Pegram? All right, and I think your counsel, Mr. Carlson and Mr. Nylander, gave a very thorough update on the proposed transfer. Yeah, the title pages were almost as long as the report, so I think we have everything covered. I don't have any questions about the transfer. Do either board members?
I didn't have any questions on the transfer. I did just want to ask one question of Mr. Pegram. I know he just stepped away, but perhaps. Good to see you, sir.
Good seeing you.
As far as the remodel, I just happened to walk through there a couple of weeks ago. It looked like you've taken out the whole bar area as well in Sully's and have knocked that. Well, it's all walled off right now, so it's difficult to tell, but that whole sector encompasses that old steakhouse that's all getting remodeled. What's happening over there then too?
So what's happening there is Sully's will be reduced in size. Sully's before probably had the big TV and 35 tabletops in it and only an 8-seat bar. Sully's will be shrunk down to about a 30-seat bar and 18 tabletops, and we will be able to retain as they would advertise it, the biggest TV in Reno.
Okay.
And what you had an arcade that took about 1,500 square feet in the back that was next to the old basketball court. That arcade area plus the area that Sully's used to occupy has become a 4,500 square foot steakhouse. So we're just reworking the area is basically what's coming back to. And as I stated before, the key to all of this is where the old steakhouse is what we deem to be the best gaming area in the place. So it better be, because we spent a lot of money moving it.
All right, well, thank you for that update.
All right, thank you.
All right, Mr. Nylander, any closing comments?
No, nothing further, Madam Chair. I would like to thank Senior Agent Messenberg for all the work he did on this. This was as you said earlier, it looks very complicated, but once you step through everything, it's not that bad, but he was on top of this from the beginning. Appreciate that very much. That helped. We had some timing issues with this application in terms of taxes and some other issues. So that was very helpful, his understanding of it, to get it to you as quick as he did. And so we appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will entertain a motion.
And I'll move for approval of non-restricted item number 6 as read into the record by Madam Secretary.
Member Katsouros?
Aye.
Member Johnson?
Aye.
Chairwoman Morgan?
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Great, Madam Secretary, please read in non-restricted item number 7.
Non-restricted number 7 is the application of Nevada Restaurant Services, Inc. doing business as Points Casino number 211 for a non-restricted gaming license.
Good morning, Chair Morgan, Member Johnson, Member Katsaros. For the record, my name is Cannon Smith, and I'm General Counsel for Nevada Restaurant Services, Inc. I'm before you today on NRSI's application to operate a one-day opening as Points Casino number 211 at the location most recently licensed and operated as Siegel Slots and Suites in unincorporated Clark County. The purpose of the one-day opening is to preserve the gaming entitlements that exist at the location, including maintaining the gaming enterprise district overlay that currently sits atop it. If approved, the one-day opening is planned for November 16, 2020, and will be conducted in a trailer on the same parcel as the casino. The trailer would operate 16 slot machines for a continuous 8-hour period, and plexiglass will be utilized to ensure social distancing requirements are maintained. There will be no food or drink served during the opening, and the one-day opening will be overseen by General Manager Rosa Luna, who is a licensed key employee for the company. Security will be present and on-site, both in the trailer and around the trailer for the entire opening. And an application has been filed with Clark County for the proposed one-day opening as well, and is currently proceeding through the necessary approvals. NRSI intends to submit applications for permanent licensing once its plans for the location are finalized. NRSI would like to thank Agent Ballinger for her work on this application, and I'm happy to answer any questions that the board might have.
Great, thank you, Mr. Smith, for that overview. I had a question because we haven't had a lot of these kind of temporary limited hour openings since June. So thank you for mentioning that a licensed key employee, Ms. Luna, I do remember her, would be the one on site. But are you also going to, I'm assuming you will, sanitize and disinfect the temporary machines in that trailer while it's open?
Certainly. All of the procedures that we have implemented with respect to cleaning will also be carried through during this one-day opening if approved.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. I don't have any other questions. Either board members have any questions for Mr. Smith? All right, I will entertain a motion.
All right, I'll move for approval of non-restricted item number 7 is read into the record pursuant to the following condition. The location is limited to the operation of slot machines.
Member Katsouros?
Aye.
Member Johnson?
Aye.
Chairwoman Morgan?
Aye, thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, Madam Secretary, let's proceed with the items on our restricted consent agenda. There were no questions or issues raised with these items and no appearances were required.
Restricted number 6 is the application of Eclipse Route Operations LLC doing business as Eclipse Gaming, doing business at US Gas 7 for restricted gaming license. Restricted 7 is the application of United Coin Machine Company doing business as Century Gaming Technologies, doing business at 7-Eleven store number 32194 for restricted gaming license. Restricted 8 is the application of United Coin Machine Company doing business as Century Gaming Technologies, doing business at 7-Eleven store number 39991 for restricted gaming license. And restricted number 9 is the application of Jet Gaming LLC doing business at Bubby's University Tavern for restricted gaming license.
I will move for approval of restricted items 6, 7, 8, and 9 as read into the record by Madam Secretary with the following condition for item number 6. The surveillance system and/or mirrors must be inspected and approved by the Nevada Gaming Control Board Enforcement Division within 60 days of issuance of the state gaming license and thereafter be maintained at or above the standard that is approved.
Member Katsaros.
Aye.
Member Johnson.
Aye.
Chairwoman Morgan.
Aye. Madam Secretary, that brings us to our restricted items held out for discussion. Please read in restricted number 1.
Restricted number 1 is the application of ST Property Holdings LLC doing business as ARCO AMPM number 83195 for restricted gaming license and the application of Sang Tae Yoon for licensure as sole manager.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Mr. Yoon.
Good afternoon, board members.
Good afternoon.
Hi.
Hello.
My name is Hyun-Chun Kim. I'm the CPA for the applicant here. My address is 1174 Cottonwood Ranch Court, Henderson, Nevada 89052.
My name is Sang Tae Yoon. My address is 2806 Bellini Drive, Henderson 89052.
And Mr. Yan, you're here, and either of you can speak on behalf of this application because you're looking for a restricted gaming license at
Yes,
an ARCO AMPM, correct?
Right. Yes, ma'am. Correct.
Okay. Would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself and your business background?
Just before I went into gas and convenience store, I was in real estate rental business in Las Vegas for the past 7 years. Many condominium complex rental business. I went into this business to do more active because the rental business is more passive business.
Just to add a little bit, he was a major partner of a partnership which owned 93 units of condominium complex in town. And he was the acting manager of their properties.
Okay. And Mr. Kim, are you going to be assisting Mr. Yoon at all with the kind of operation of this convenience store?
Yes, ma'am.
And have you had an opportunity, let me just clarify, we had an opportunity to look at your personal background and your financial background. I didn't see any issues there. And you've been, let's see, well, how long have you been in Las Vegas or in Nevada?
I've been in Vegas for last 8 years. This is 9th year.
Actually, since 2011. He started his real estate business in 2011.
And have you had an opportunity to review the conditions on this license about having to hire, enter into a service contract with a licensed flat-wide operator for at least a year?
Yes, ma'am. We have been discussing it with Mr. Bradford for many issues, and then we followed up all the steps to, follow. And then I think we are in good condition. We already made a contract with the service company.
Okay, great. And who did you enter into a contract with?
Who was the contract? Let me.
Is it?
Sorry, we forgot the name of the service company. Is it Ace Gaming? No.
Is it Best Bet?
Yes, I think so.
I just don't remember the name of the company.
Yeah.
And you also saw the condition about completing a regulatory compliance seminar?
Actually, it was scheduled on October 14th. That was the only available time for him to anticipate. So we already scheduled for that.
Yeah, I got the confirmation from for attendance on October 14th, 2020, 9 to 11 a.m.
Okay, well, thank you. Good. Maybe you'll have that completed by the time the commission hears this item at the end of the month.
Right.
Do either board members have any questions for Mr. Yoon or Mr. Kim?
I did not.
All right, thank you. I will entertain a motion for approval.
Thank you very much.
All right, I'll move for approval of restricted item number 1 as read into the record by Madam Secretary with the following 2 conditions. Prior to the issuance of the state gaming license, the licensee shall enter into a service contract with a licensed slot route operator. The term of the contract shall be for at least a 1-year period of time. Second, the licensee shall demonstrate successful completion of a regulatory compliance seminar for restricted licensees, which is deemed acceptable to the Nevada Gaming Control Board chair or the chair's designee within 90 days of the issuance of the state gaming license. This condition may be administratively extended by the Nevada Gaming Control Board chair or the chair's designee.
Member Katsaros?
Aye.
Member Johnson?
Aye.
Chairwoman Morgan?
Aye. Tolpet Usumnida.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Madam Secretary, item number 2.
Restricted number 2 is the application of Sky Tavern Partners LLC doing business as Sky Tavern for a restricted gaming license and for the applications of DZ Gaming Trust and TH Tavern 3 LLC for registration as a holding company and for a finding of suitability of David Delzato as trustee and beneficiary and the Timothy P. Herbst Gaming Trust as sole member and manager. Lastly, you have the applications of DZ Gaming Trust and TH Tavern 3 LLC for licensure as members and managers.
Hello, Dennis Gutwald, and with the law firm of McDonald Carano. Hopefully with me are David Delzato and Rick Stevens. I don't see them logged on, but I hope they are. And this
they're present. They're just not on video yet, so let's give them a little.
And they need to unmute. You guys are on mute. I just see the name there.
Yep.
So very good. This is an application for a restricted gaming license, and with your permission, I'm going to have Mr. Delzato tell you a little bit about the proposed establishment, and then tell you a little bit about himself.
Great. Good afternoon, Mr. Delzato.
Good afternoon. Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairwoman Morgan and members Johnson and Katsaros. It is an honor and a privilege to be here before you today. Being as this is my first time as an applicant for licensure, I'd like to make a short presentation in order for you to get to know me a little bit better and share some of my background. I was born in Toronto, Canada, and was raised and graduated from York University in 1988. My family has been in the construction and real estate business for over 80 years and is an industry leader and the largest high-rise condominium developer in Canada. Tridel, which is our family company, and the related companies have delivered approximately 80,000 units since its inception and currently manage another 72,000 high-rise condominiums in the Greater Toronto Area. In the early 1990s, I moved away from the family business and moved to the US to oversee some family investment holdings in Dallas, Texas, eventually settling in Las Vegas in 1992, where I formed Remington Homes. For the next 20 years, Remington Homes would develop and build over 500 single-family homes, engineer and develop over 3,000 lots, and is a past recipient in the custom home division for Street of Dreams Best in Show. I have lived all my 28 years in Summerlin, and I am married with 3 beautiful daughters. After the 2008 recession, I turned my attention to commercial development. My emphasis is primarily neighborhood shopping centers in the greater Las Vegas and Phoenix markets. Today, the scope of these projects is approximately just over 1 million square feet of retail development spread across about a dozen sites. Locally, these include such names here in Las Vegas as Mountain's Edge Marketplace and Sky Canyon Marketplace, both of which are currently the primary retail centers of these master planned communities. In an effort to continue to grow our business after the recession, Remington partnered with Terrible Herbst, where we develop and build auto plazas and are members in the lessee business. All of these gas stations, C-stores, and car washes operate with space leases for the gaming component. Currently, we have 2 locations completed, 1 under construction, and another 3 in design. Sky Canyon Marketplace presented the opportunity for a tavern use, and I, subject to the licensing approval,
saw an opportunity to expand the already successful partnership with the Herbst family, who are great partners and operators and very well respected in the industry. Having said that, the Herbst Group will be responsible for the day-to-day operations of the tavern. I would like to thank the Gaming Control Board and Agent Locker for their professionalism and diligence as you consider my application. Now I would be happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Right, thank you, Mr. Delzato. I didn't have any questions. It looks like both you and Mr. Herbst will be providing an equal amount towards this this tavern, Sky Tavern Partners over in the northwest area of town. There were no issues with your background, or I didn't have any questions about your finances as well. Do either board members have any questions for the applicant?
I had one. Mr. Delzato, thanks for appearing here today. Thanks for that overview as well. Is this going to be your first sort of foray into a tavern business then?
Correct.
I understand you're not managing it, and clearly you've got a lot of development experience with what you outlined and what the materials indicate in our report, but in terms of a tavern, so this will be your first, okay?
This will be, yes.
But you won't be actively involved?
I will not, no.
Perhaps as a patron?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, no, I didn't have any questions then. Very clean background, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, if there's nothing else, Mr. Gutwald, I'm sorry, Member Johnson?
No.
Mr. Gutwald, any closing comments?
I just wanted to thank Agent Locker. I understand he may be retiring at the end of next month, and he's been one of the board's best. He's a credit to the agency. As a former agent at the board, watching him work has always been a pleasure just to see what he can do. So I'm going to miss him. It's been a pleasure. And I just wanted to note that, how good he was to work with.
Well, thank you, Mr. Gutwald. I wasn't sure if that was public or not. I thought I was going to get one more meeting out of him, but I appreciate you letting you sharing your positive thoughts about your work with Mr. Locker.
You get one more meeting, but this is my last dance with them.
Ah, got it. Okay. I will entertain a motion for approval.
All right, I'll move for approval of restricted item number 2 is read into the record by Madam Secretary with the following condition: a key employee application must be filed within 60 days of issuance of the state gaming license, and thereafter be refiled within 60 days of any change in the person occupying that position.
Member Katsaros?
Aye.
Member Johnson?
Aye.
Chairwoman Morgan?
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right, Madam Secretary, please read in restricted number 3.
Restricted number 3 are the applications of WFTLB 01 LLC, WFTLB 02 LLC, WFTLB 04 LLC, WFTLB 05 LLC, and WFTLB 06 LLC for transfers of interest. You also have the applications for licensure of WFTLBH LLC as sole member and manager, registration as a holding company, and a finding of suitability of the Flandemeyer Living Trust as member and manager, and for registration as an intermediary company, and for a finding of suitability of Denise Flandemeyer and Matthew Flandemeyer as trustees and beneficiaries as noted on the agenda. Lastly, it is the application for licensure of WFTLB 08 LLC to receive a percentage of revenue from Sartini Gaming LLC.
All right, thank you, Madam Secretary. I believe on this item we have Ms. Flandemeyer, Michelle Flandemeyer, and Mr. Matthew Flandemeyer.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for letting us appear remotely. I appreciate it.
No problem. It looks like you're in a nice peaceful background, Mr. Flandemeyer. It looks like we have before us applications for transfers of interest. Can you please just give a summary of what you're asking the board to recommend approval of?
Yes, currently the 4 of the WFTLVs are owned by Shelley Flandemeyer, my wife. And as a result of consulting with our attorneys and bankers, there's a desire for us to have them held in a holding company. And so we're taking this opportunity to transfer those upon approval into a holding company that then in turn will be owned by our trust, both of which Shelley and I are co-trustees and beneficiaries.
Okay, so you have 6 Wahoo locations, correct? Right now, correct?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I should have said 5, not 4. So 5 of them. We have the 6th one. Then we're applying for it to be held this way initially, as well as the share in revenue with Golden or Sartini Gaming.
Okay, great. So all of the locations now would be under the new LLC that you both are member managers of.
Correct.
All right. I do not have any questions for either of you. Either member, you have any questions for the Vanderbergs?
No.
I will entertain a motion for approval.
All right, I'll move for approval of restricted item number 3 as read into the record by Madam Secretary.
Member Katsaros,
Aye.
Member Johnson,
Aye.
Chairwoman Morgan.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Just want to say a special thanks to Agent David Bradford. He was awesome to work with. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Madam Secretary, please read in restricted number 4.
Restricted number 4 are the applications for licensure of 7689 Tavern LLC to receive a percentage of revenue from Sartini Gaming LLC and Jason Talati, the JCT Special Trust, the Justin Seth Moscow Family Trust, and Stephen Chimarusti as manager or member as noted on the agenda.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. And I think we may have Mr. Hicks for the applicant. And I believe I only requested the appearance of Mr. Chimarusti. Mr. Hicks, are you there? All right. It looks like there may be a connection issue. We'll wait a little bit longer and we may have to come back to restricted item number 4. All right, let's go ahead and table item number 4 and come back when we're able to see and hear Mr. Hicks. Madam Secretary, can you please read in restricted number 5? Ms. Bell, you're on mute.
Restricted number 5 are the applications of Home Plate Grill and Bar, Inc. for transfers of interest and the application for registration of the Glenn Clenningen Family Trust as a holding company and for a finding of suitability and or licensure of Nicholas Clenningen as trustee and beneficiary and as sole officer, director, and shareholder as noted on the agenda.
Wonderful. Thank you, Madam Executive Secretary. Good afternoon, Mr. Bernhard.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Peter Bernhard appearing with and on behalf of the applicant. I'm hoping that Nicholas is connected as well.
He is. Hello, Mr. Pronounce your last name for me again.
Clenningen.
It's nice to see you both again. I wanted to know, Mr. Bernhard, if you can kind of give us a brief update. The last time we saw both of you, I believe, was for his temporary licensure as an executor.
That's correct. As all of you are well aware, Nicholas was thrust into a difficult, challenging situation and the unexpected death of his father about 19 months ago. Since that time, and we appreciate the board having previously approved Nicholas to serve as the special administrator of the Glenn Clenningen estate, he has been able to perform those functions and get an education both through the auspices of the Gaming Control Board with its class and with UNLV and the International Gaming Institute. And then, of course, we had to face the pandemic in all of our different businesses, and Mr. Clenningen was not daunted by that. He came through and has been able to follow all of the different governor's restrictions in terms of opening, closing, reopening his operations. So he has had, in effect, what I would call an 18-month period of on-the-job training under not ideal circumstances. He's had tremendous help from within his family, emotional and inspirational help as well. In fact, I believe his uncle Mark, as Dorian, who's an attorney in Southern California, who's married to Glenn Clenningen's sister. So he is the uncle for both Nicholas and Gabriel, and he has been a tremendous source of support for Nicholas as he goes through the process. I understand Mr. Asdorian is either on the line or watching as well, and I wanted to thank him for all of his input on that. So Mr. Nicholas Klanian is here before you today, first to do a transfer of interest from the Glenn Klanian estate into the Glenn Klanian Family Trust. And then immediately upon that having occurred, the application is for approval of the transfer of interest from the trust into the corporation so that the shares of stock in Home Plate Grill and Bar Inc. will be owned by Nicholas Klanian as the sole officer, director, and shareholder. The shares have been issued to Glenn Klanian, 10,000 shares of common stock representing 100% of the ownership. And that will, once this process is completed, hopefully with the approval of the board today and the commission in 2 weeks, then the stock will transfer, the probate will close, and Nicholas will be going forward as the sole officer, director, and shareholder of the corporation. So he is here again to answer any questions any of you may have and explain what he's done and what he plans to do going forward with the company.
Great, thank you for that that wonderful summary, Mr. Bernhardt. To kind of summarize what we've gone through and what Nicholas has gone through over the last year. So I was really encouraged when you initially came before us, Mr. Klanian, about your willingness to kind of take things head on, obviously being kind of thrust into a situation that was unexpected. And I will say, I think anyone who's operated this year deserves to have that expertise considered to be in dog years. So even though it's been just 2020 and you've been doing this for about 1.5 years, I would consider it to be 7 years. So let me know how, or let the board know how things have been at Home Plate Grill and Bar, and what type of experience you've had. Obviously, it's great. I think that you're taking advantage not only of the board's education and training, but of UNLV's IGI as well, since it's in our backyard. So how have things been?
Well, I started off with, business was doing fantastic. And then once COVID had hit, it was, it brought on a lot of different challenges. I was forced with the decision of either choosing to remain open for takeout and delivery, or to close and decide, then decide to reopen later on. And I chose to stay open. I stayed down there for long days and nights with my 2 cooks. One worked during the day and one worked during the evening for me. And I manned the running the food out to the guest during COVID. I thought, I chose that for a couple of different reasons. One being, I figured that a lot of the different, if I shut off all the equipment down there, then there's going to be a chance of having to replace some of the equipment that had been running 24/7 before closing. So I was trying to cut back some of my costs and, just try to keep everything afloat. After reopening initially, things got, immediately picked back up, but I was having to adhere to all the rules that were coming out, and I decided, and I had to come up with policies and procedures to implement to the employees and make sure that we were operating at 50% maximum capacity, which we've kept on board and at times had to turn people away, which is, one, a blessing, but it's never, pleasant having to turn anybody away. But so the business has done well, except for, there have been some complications along the route, and I'm looking forward to one, closing out my father's estate. There's a lot of different angles being thrown at me at one time, but once I get this duty of mine passed, then I'm looking forward to a new chapter in my life. So, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for that overview. Does either board member have any questions for Mr. Bernhardt? All right. I will entertain a motion for approval.
If I may,
Oh, yeah.
Just wanted to again express our appreciation for Jasmine Broomfield and all of her work in this. And I believe that when we were in front of you back in April of 2019, Nicholas pledged that he would work conscientiously to meet all of the requirements of a licensee. And I have to say, I'm very proud to be here with him, and having seen what he has done, he has followed through on his word, both to me as his attorney and to you as representatives of the state. So I'm optimistic that going forward, you'll hear a lot more about him and his further ventures. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bernhardt.
Thank you for everybody's time today.
All right, I'll move for approval of restricted item number 5 as read into the record by Madam Secretary.
Member Katsaros. Member Johnson.
Aye.
Chairwoman Morgan.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's see if Mr. Hicks is back on for restricted number 4.
Does that start my video?
All right, there you are.
Yes.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Well, I'm dealing with my technical infirmities right now, which are plentiful at my age, and I apologize for delaying the board. But I have Mr. Chmielewski here with me. He's prepared to answer any questions you may have. This is another operation that involves my son-in-law, Jason Talati, and Justin Moscove, and I appreciate the waiver of their appearances today. They have rebranded an existing bar tavern here in town, done extensive work on it, and they have employed they've now partnered with Mr. Chmielewski, who was employed with them as a bartender for many years. And with that said, I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Chmielewski, and I'll have him move over to this spot. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hicks.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chmielewski. So this is your first time seeking licensure and with your partnership interest in 7689 Tavern LLC. So please tell us about yourself and the business.
I was a bartender and manager for the Flowing Tide pubs for Mr. Talati and Mr. Moscow for about the last decade. I was kind of feeling my age behind the bar and knew that I needed to move on to something that would get me closer to retirement. And I started trying to see if there was a business opportunity in helping turn local bars that were struggling around so that they were profitable again. And I went on to a meeting at the Hard Water House, and a few minutes in, the owner offered to sell me the business at a reasonable rate. And so after having such a good relationship with Mr. Talati and Mr. Moscove, I approached them to go into a partnership at this location, and they agreed. Oh, I lost audio.
No, you didn't. It was me. I was on mute. Do you plan on being at the property every day? What level of involvement do you foresee having?
I'm doing almost all of the management and oversight right now. Jason and Justin have been there helping me get everything started, but once everything falls into place, their amount of time there will be supplemental at best, and I'll oversee all operations.
Great, thank you. Do either board members have any questions for Mr. Chmielewski?
Just a comment. I love that story. I mean, you wanted to make a change from going behind the bar. So were you employed when you started to seek out other opportunities and reaching out to bars to say, hey, I can help you turn this bar around?
Yes, I was always going to keep at least my bar shifts at the Tide for the short term, and Jason was aware of my plans, but it's a tough business as a male, and it's even tougher the older you get.
You could have a reality show, perhaps. I don't know if anybody's done something like that.
Yeah, one guy maybe.
Yeah, exactly. I can't remember his name, but of course that's what I was referencing. But great story. Thank you for the overview and good luck.
Thank you, sir.
All right. If there are any closing comments, Mr. Hicks or Mr. Chmielewski?
You.
Madam Chair, we have no closing comments. I just noticed that in the agenda, we have applications for licensure as a manager or member. And just so the record is clear, Mr. Chemierewski is a member of this LLC. He owns 48%. And he is also the general manager, the on-site general manager at the property. He is not the manager of the limited liability company. That's Mr. Talati, and I believe he's being relicensed for that in this action. But I think that it should be clear that Mr. Chemierewski is both a member and also the general manager of the property.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
With that, we have nothing further to present on this matter. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Michaela, with that correction made by Mr. Hicks, we're okay with going forward today, but maybe clearing it up. I think we may have another opportunity to revisit some of the other applicants on this item later. Are there any issues with proceeding based on the clarification made by Mr. Hicks today?
The way you can proceed as it is agendized, it sounded like Mr. Hicks was talking about a key executive, in which case that could be filed within, I think it's 30 or 40 days of taking that position, and then you could hear it in the ordinary course. I also think that that is a permissive filing for an LLC, so I'm not sure that you need to do anything about it.
So let's just go ahead and proceed as planned. I'll entertain a motion.
And I'll move for approval of restricted item number 4 as read into the record by Madam Secretary.
Member Katsaros. Member Johnson.
Aye.
Chairwoman Morgan.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, Madam Secretary, that brings us to our casino player dispute appeal pursuant to NRS 463-363. Madam Secretary.
You have one casino player dispute appeal. The hearing examiner recommends the agent's decision denying payment be affirmed. That item is Deborah DeRocco versus Dottie's number 34.
Thank you. I have reviewed the proposed order prepared by the hearing examiner and am very comfortable with affirming it. If there's no questions or comments or discussion, I would seek a motion.
Yeah, we'll move to accept the recommendation of the hearing examiner in the matter of the patron dispute read into the record by Madam Secretary.
Member Katsaros.
Aye.
Member Johnson.
Aye.
Chairwoman Morgan.
Aye. Madam Secretary, before we go on to public comment, there are additional items on our agenda with regard to field trials. So regulation 14080 does require the chair to actually give updates on field trial systems. So as noticed on our agenda, we have the field trial of an inter-casino link system, Spectronics Advanced Progressive System, submitted by Olson Gaming, that is currently at 2 trial locations. A field trial of a new gaming device, ICE2 platform, submitted by Next Gaming, also at 2 trial locations, and a field trial of a new gaming device, GFL QOREX, submitted by TCS, John Huxley, currently at 1 trial location. With that, Madam Secretary, that brings us to our last agenda item, public comment.
This item is placed on the agenda to give the public an opportunity to comment on gaming related matters. We did not receive any additional comments during the meeting.
Wonderful. That concludes the Nevada Gaming Control Board meeting for the month of October, and we are adjourned. Thank you.